Alright, y'all. Welcome to San Miguel TV. Thank y'all for joining. The name of this video is ICGJC Bishop Commits Suicide. And what we're going to be doing today is reading an article here on a website called Religion Unplugged, which I put in the description if you guys want to, check that out yourself. Yeah, so we'll keep that up here. So yeah, it's pretty much the title of the article is "A Black Hebrew Israelite Bishop Dies Days After Fearing Church Punishment." So I already spoke about this a few times, but I thought that this was important enough to have its own title and its own, pretty much its own video dedicated to this brother who, we'll read this entire article. It's going to get into everything, so I'm not just going to give it all off. But as you can see, this is a serious issue. I touched on this when I first really started doing these videos, because there was a brother in Orlando, which was, the congregation that I was a part of, which was all part of the ICGJC, but, we had churches in all these different cities, and Orlando was an up-and-coming city when I came in. So when I came in there, it took a few years for me to move up in the ranks. I had later when I was a captain, I ended up pretty much having this one brother in my camp that he was just very down. All the time. I didn't realize what was going on with him, but his wife had cancer and she was literally dying slowly. And but he became a believer, and we had a lot of demands for this man. He had to spend a lot of time in the cult. And I spoke about that before. Because the cult, what they do is just take up a lot of your time. That's part of being in the cult, is the control. So this man probably didn't realize what he had got himself into, this bishop, and after so many years of being, in a cult that has so much control over you that you rely on every week, every day, really, for some type of spirituality, because, as humans, this is what we seek, some type of peace through spirituality, which, you can find. But spirituality doesn't necessarily have anything to do with a religion or the Bible or a cult. I mean, definitely not a cult. And I think I also wanted to make a distinction between what is a cult and a religion, which I have done before. But there's really no difference when I look at it. I'm analyzing the Catholic Church compared to the ICGJC, and it's really the same thing, but on a major scale. Of course, the Catholic Church has had more power and therefore have caused more pain, I think, throughout the years. There's so much evidence of wrongdoing and favoritism towards bishops, hiding bishops' sins, saying that they're the ones that's going to deal with their bishops, but they'll send them off to another, they'll send these child molesters off to other locations and protect them, and they'll go off and still do the same thing, because this is a cult, and they what they do with the men in there is that they prevent them, at least the fathers, the priests, they can't be with women, they can't have a wife, they can't have sex, pretty much. They have to remain celibate, and the nuns too, the real dedicated ones, pretty much. From what I remember, the priests in the Catholic Church that I was, that I grew up in, these people, they usually don't have wives. I don't think they're allowed to have wives, and these are they become sinister in a way. That's part of what humans need. You need, that affection from, your partner, and this is denied to these men, and it's similar to like a eunuch or something like that in the Bible, where you dedicate your life to the cult, pretty much. But the Catholic Church is just, a cult pretty much It's mainly surrounded around one man that is sent from God, professes to be sent from God, and this would have been what Jesus Christ's group was called. Would have been called a cult. Just to give you a little background about this organization, because just calling it a cult doesn't do it any justice. I mean, you can go through some of my old videos and check that out. But let's get into this. Again, this is a website called Religion Unplugged. The link is in the description of this video, so you can click on that and read it for yourself. It's titled "Black Hebrew Israelite Bishop Dies Days After Fearing Church Punishment" by Princess Jones and Megan Clark. So this was published January 22nd, 2021. I've read this before, but I want to put more of a focus and a light on this topic and this article, because there's some major things in here that we have to constantly go back to this, because this is the reason why I feel there's a need to speak out against this cult, is because of situations like this. So, let's just go ahead and read it. It says, Michael Lubrin in New York. Michael Lubrin felt heartbroken when police told him his son, 31-year-old Kim Lubrin, was dead. Years earlier, when his son joined the Black Hebrew Israelite group, the father saw a change. So just right off the bat, this first line, whoever wrote this really did a great job. As an introduction, at least, it's already drawing me in. But I mean, that change that you see, right? You guys, some of the people that join my lives, they have family members that are part of the cult or a cult, Hebrew Israelite cult usually, because that's what I'm more familiar with. But in learning about cults, and the cult that I was a part of, pretty much doing all of that helped me to learn how all cults pretty much operate, religious cults specifically. And so there's a change that happens when you come in, and your friends and your family are going to notice it. You're going to feel that it's very important for you to spread this message to them. It's very important to you because you've been convinced, and they use a lot of, they play to a lot of, our ignorance of, people that are that are uneducated, or, not as educated, and maybe, on the fringes of society, and, in poverty pretty much, and that are looking for something to cope with the hard life that they have to deal with. Life is hard. Religion is a way to cope. It's a coping mechanism, I think. For the most part, I'm not going to just paint a broad brush like that, but I think that's pretty much what it serves as. At least for me, that's the best thing that I can gauge from religion, is that it serves as some type of coping mechanism, temporarily though. Depending on what kind of group you're affiliated with. Now, this particular group, it's going to get into, a little bit of the lifestyle that Hebrew Israelites lead. So you can see how the father of this man who, took his own life, started seeing these changes. Now it says, on a windy 40-degree day on November 2nd, Day of the Dead. That stands out to me. I mean, I'm not saying there's any relevance, but remember November 1st, 2016 was the raid, and that's the Day of the Dead. It's a 2-day festival. And that day just sticks out because I remember making an instrumental and naming it Day of the Dead right before all of this took place in 2016. And November 2nd, I mean, it's just giving me chills a little bit right now. Now it says, on November 2nd, Kim jumped off the roof of an apartment building in West Harlem, a short walk from the religious group's headquarters and his own home, according to family members, police reports, and surveillance footage. So, not only are there reports, family members saw a difference in him. He was telling his family members, leading up to this moment, people were seeing a change, even a bigger change in him than when they saw when he first joined the cult. Because there's an initial change, but there's other changes that happen over time. Now, the surveillance footage is what really is the I guess the main piece of evidence here that solidifies that this was a suicide. Because I know there was people trying to you know kind of play with the idea that maybe he was killed or something, and it's like I don't that doesn't come to my mind right away when I hear something like this. I actually believe this instantly, but I guess some people were thinking that maybe there was some foul play. But I don't. It wasn't the case. And you're gonna see why. So it says the Lubrin family, and my condolences to the Lubrin family. I want to make sure that this message gets spread out so this doesn't happen to anybody else again. The Lubrin family believe there are more elements to Kim's death than simply a suicide. Yeah, and they're correct for thinking that, because when somebody is suicidal, you go through this temporary stage of what's known as psychosis. Let me see if I can just look that up real quick. Just so you could get a clear understanding of what this man was possibly going through. I don't have the details like that. I mean, I didn't know the man. I knew people that knew him. So it still hits close to home for me, especially being a part of this cult. 'Cause I was a high-ranking member of this cult. For those that don't know, if you're just a new subscriber, I'm a former member of this Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ cult based in Harlem, New York. So I know everything this man was going through, and well, I can relate to the things that he was going through. At least some of the things, because everybody has their own individual life. But what we were put as ranking men, what we had to go through, all the ranking men had to deal with the same thing. So I know exactly what this man, what kind of issues, daily issues, he had to deal with. So psychosis is a severe mental disorder in which thought and emotions are so impaired that contact is lost with external reality. And this is what I think had to happen during that time. But depression is another thing that, I mean, what this cult puts you through, the constant fear, the constant subjugation, and just it's a constant state of being subjected to somebody that's supposed to be higher than you, and if you're a higher rank, there's always going to be somebody higher than you, because well, as we know, there's no comforter anymore unless they're trying to get somebody to replace him. But the leader of this cult, who's responsible for a lot of this depression and a lot of this the craziness that's been going on in the cult for the last 15 years. I mean, if you go back 30, 20 years, I mean, it's just been nothing but lies and false promises, false prophecies, disconfirmed expectancies. All of that causes all types of psychological issues, stresses. Constant state of stresses is going to cause depression. And, I wanted to also go through another video so you could see some of the reactions of some of these members in there. How they looked recently before Tazadakia died. You can see them in the audience reacting to Tazadakia, and I actually want to go through that. But let's continue reading that, since we got the definition for psychosis. And I guess we can also look up suicidal psychosis. Studies have constantly found that adolescents with psychosis are at higher risk for suicide than are adults with psychotic disorders. Also, adolescents with psychotic symptoms are nearly 7 times more likely to attempt suicide than are adolescents in the general population. So, there could be something also that's genetic, and some people could be found with higher risks of psychosis or depression and things like that. Some of those things can be genetic. So, but they can be brought on and pushed on more by a situation like, a cult, this type of environment. I have a cousin who is still in the cult, who's a ranking sister. Like, they don't really give ranks to sisters. They just started doing that recently, and she was one of the first sisters to receive some type of rank. It's imaginary authority. It's really doesn't. It's meaningless. Outside of there, but to them it means something. They place the value on those titles, and to them, so that's why it means something. It literally doesn't mean anything outside of that place. I mean, you know, um, but she went through something similar where she became really suicidal. I'm sorry, she became really depressed for a long time, and she's already, very fragile. She's dealing with epileptic, attacks since she was a child. I remember these things growing up with her. And then it went away. It didn't happen for years, and because that might have been something that was already in her genes, and something that's already there. Now, I heard that she had another attack, an epileptic attack I think it was on the way to a Passover one time. It was a situation like that where she's traveling, constantly traveling, um, getting pregnant, giving birth, all those hormonal changes. It's not easy for some of these sisters. And it's definitely not easy for some of these brothers, man. But because this environment that these brothers and sisters are in, it really leads to depression, and it could cause some of these issues to come back, from childhood, and then maybe get even worse, and progress if you don't do something about it and you don't realize it, because these people aren't living in reality. That's why I'm thinking about what this man did, and I'm just like, he must have just been completely disconnected from reality at that point to do that. So we'll continue reading here in the third paragraph. So it says, Kim had progressed up the ranks of the secretive, close-knit Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ in Harlem, which has a history of financially and emotionally pressuring members and ousting members for alleged transgression. Yeah, because that's what cults do. They put heavy burdens on you, financial burdens, all types of work, and they call it the Lord's work, but you're doing work for the church and the higher ranks. Whatever they tell you to do, you're doing it. So it's like, it's not coming from the Lord. It's coming from higher ranks. Everything. Brooklyn Outlaw, my brother. Yeah, I had to go through this, important topic here, man. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much, burden, so many burdens put on you. And there's a lot of obligations that you're just expected to fulfill. And if you don't, you're looked at as you're no good, you ain't good enough, and you could possibly be called up to councils, which if you don't live in Harlem, like this brother, and a lot of these members in New York, I'm not to say they had it easy, but it probably would be harder because they're literally right around the highest ranks, the apostles, the comforter at the time, and all of that, and they demand a lot. But what they started doing was having these councils every month where we had to travel from Orlando to New York City. And you got to pay for flights if you want to make it before Monday, if you have work Monday morning, because they drive, usually when they drive, which is what some of these members do that, don't have jobs. A lot of them don't have jobs. So they don't have to be nowhere Monday morning. And they usually be driving on I-95 because it takes about 20 hours, depending how you drive, to get, from Orlando or Central Florida to New York City. And some of these brothers would come up from Miami. And that's like an extra 5 hours there to the trip for them. And we get dropped off and picked up, a little earlier. And, it would be a little easier there. But that trip was hell. We would take, and we wouldn't shower. We would literally be packed up in these 18 passenger vans, um, you know, eight for 18 to 20 hours, 22 hours sometimes, depending, how many people came and how many stops we made. When we had the 18 passengers, we made a lot of stops. Sometimes we'll go with a 12 passenger or a 15 passenger. But, we would all be crammed in, and we would have to go into this meeting, this council, and spend up to 12 to, 20 hours there, depending on what they require you to do. And because they have already lured you in by this identity, putting an identity, because not only is this a religious cult, it's also an identity cult. It's a doomsday cult also, which is another thing I wanted to briefly touch on, because that can cause a lot of paranoia. That a doomsday cult is a cult that makes their followers believe that they're in the last days. I don't really see that with a lot of the average Christians. They don't have these doomsday cults, which puts urgency on their members and all types of pressures and all of that. It's crazy in there. The environment that they create, it's psychological. This was mapped out perfectly. I mean, the way they reel you in with the 12 tribes sign and make you think that this is, the beginning of the greatest nation to ever exist. African Americans, Haitians, Jamaicans, all West Indians, Mexicans, who they want to say are the Aztecs. Central Americans, who they want to say are the Mayans, which they're not. I mean, it's made up of so many different people. These are just names of groups that existed for a certain amount of time, to just stick to those labels. It's like these people came from other people, But this is supposed to be the nation of Israel, this black Hebrew Israelite cult, that, is very similar to these other cults that you've seen out here, like IUIC, Sakari, GMS, and, GOCC, Gathering of Christ, ISUPK. This ICGJC church is the original ISUPK. So they're the original, they came from out of the Commandment Keepers. Abba Bivens, want to, go into the history briefly. And then, but Abba Bivens, these people followed the Torah, these were like black Jews, that followed Judaism. Ariyah turned it into something different, that, and I don't know who else was with Ariyah. Could have been Mashah, because I heard Mashah had a lot to do with the teachings and what was being taught around that time. And Yaquab too, which was Ariyah's father. But creator of that 12 tribe sign it's always been accredited to Ariyah. So I'm just gonna go by that. If there's anybody else that has any more info on that, I think I heard that maybe Yeshaya and Mashah were involved with that a little bit, and that's not a crazy idea. But for whatever reason, they wanted to attribute it to just Ariyah. That's what we got in the cult. But there could have been some other scheme going on, because I don't trust Ariyah, for nothing. I know there's people out here that still think Ariyah is a man of the Lord and all this crap, giving him all this unnecessary respect when you see him in the streets, like some of these damn former ICGJC members do when they see a man that's possibly been fooling them and tricking them out of money. You don't know what this dude is doing or what he believes. Who knows? But this is this cult here. This is a little bit of that history and what they preach, which it's going to describe it anyways. But, just to give you my personal insight. So it says they have, let's just read that third paragraph. It says, Kim had progressed up the ranks of the secretive, close-knit Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ. And the reason why they're secretive and close-knit is because these people don't really want to make too much noise, because they know that they're not really trying to take over the world. They're trying to gain, members and keep it quiet as much as possible, pretty much. As far as the inner workings, they don't really talk a lot about what goes on in there. So there's a lot of deceptive recruiting that this man probably fell into. Well, I'm sure he did, because they don't tell you everything up front. So this is the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ, ICGJC in Harlem, which has a history of financially and emotionally pressuring members and ousting members for alleged transgression. So yeah, they'll put you out also. They'll put all types of financial burdens on you. If you don't fulfill the burdens that they put on you, they'll put you out, which members fear. That's something that is feared by the members, to be put out. They tell you that that's equivalent to being sentenced to hell, pretty much, especially if you're put out, permanently. Then it says, family members said church members obtained Kim's cell phone immediately after his death. Days before his jump, Kim had expressed fear of repercussion from the church over some sin he had committed. Family members told Religion Unplugged. So the fear, the mind control that's in there is so strong that you really feel like you sinned against, your father, pretty much. Even worse than that. I mean, this is a God. We're talking about your religious belief associated with your political beliefs, with everything, pretty much. Everything is just rolled into this. Your identity, your what they call nationality, which is your ethnicity, pretty much. Because the nationality could just be what nation that you were born in or you have citizenship in. They always say that. The Israelites always say, "What's your nationality?" And every time you hear that nationality, that's how you know that's an Israelite. They have no understanding of anything, especially science and ethnicities, and they don't understand that. So this guy, pretty much, the control that's in there, he felt that. You can tell that this guy, this is called irrational fear. Irrational fear is another thing that I wanna actually talk about before, because this is definitely what he's going through. Well, what are you scared of here? What are they gonna do? What is an irrational fear? Fully extreme, unwarranted fear linked to a specific object or event. So yeah, that's all I wanted to get. It's unwarranted. You're fearing for no reason. They put something in your mind to make you think that if you leave the cult or if you sin against the church or whatever the hell, that you're gonna go to hell. So this man probably thought that his life was over anyways. That's literally what he probably thought. I remember being in the mind state where this church, I wanted to be in this cult. I thought I was going to die in this cult. Well, I didn't think I was going to die. I thought I was going to continue into eternal life in this cult, because of the cult, through the cult. Because they teach you all of that. That you can't go through the kingdom of heaven, or you can't get through that gate without going through the doors of the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ. So what kind of mindset do you think their members are in if they decide to leave? The fear. I felt it. This shit is real. So this that's in quotations here is the Father, pretty much, which is heartbreaking to read this, but I'm gonna read it. So it says, my son called and he says, Daddy, I'm struggling with my spiritual life. I was supposed to be more focused, but I didn't stay focused. I sinned in the flesh, Michael told Religion Unplugged. He asked Kim if he had a girlfriend. No. A boyfriend? No. Is the church going to kick you out? No. Oh, I'm sorry. Is the church going to kick you out? I said, Kim, what is the problem? He tells me, Daddy, you don't know my church. You never know what they can do. So I really don't know what kind of fear he had. I'm here talking about the fear that the cult puts on you, as far as, the fear of God, which is really not the fear of God. They interpret it all as the fear of God, but So in his head, I don't know if he thinks that if he's fearing God because he sinned, or if he's fearing some type of repercussion from the church. I don't know what he could have done. So for him to fear some type of repercussion from the church, because that's not a crazy idea. There's stories of these cats, having all types of weapons and asking members out here in Florida for not only weapons, but weapons with silencers. That was something that was asked for from a few members out here, that a few of the original Orlando members. When Tazadakia first started coming out to Orlando, he asked members if they was able to get guns out here with silencers and all of that. Like, what? You don't know what these cats could do, man, and how deep they're connected. Because to know a lot of these mind control, this stuff is hard to learn. It takes a lot of time. The only reason why I know some of this stuff is because I want to learn all his tricks. So really just learning critical thinking and logical fallacies lets you see how people can twist a logical fallacy, maybe inadvertently or purposely. And this is what I think Tazadaki was doing. He was doing this purposely, and messing up the minds of the members, man. I mean, in so many ways. But they also, some of these members used to be, told that these leaders, the cult leader Tazadaki and these apostles have power, so much power with God, that they could literally pray and have members killed or people killed, or have some type of, crazy stuff like that. They think that they have some type of power like that. And all that is just to put this mysticism and fear on you, and ignorance is definitely plays a big part in that, because if you don't know how something happened and you're already a religious, superstitious person, you're probably going to assume that it has some type of divine intervention. This is it's really easy to once you learn how religious people think. And it's usually uneducated people, The more uneducated, usually the more religious. It's from what I've seen, or the more superstitious, at least, let me say. So people that are superstitious connect any little event, that might not be connected, just because maybe you might see a number somewhere. And then you might play that number and hit and might win. And it could be a coincidence. It could be that 1 in a million chance where it was just a coincidence. But you want to attribute that to, a god or something like that. Where there's situations where, there's so many different ways where you can misinterpret something as, a divine message from a god. This has been done for years. People hallucinate and think that they're talking to God. People dehydrate, especially back in the days during the time when they were writing these things. They had all types of desert heat, dehydration. You don't know if they were like really bugging out and thinking that they had, some type of divine experience. I'm just putting that out there. But, back to this article here. So he says, you never know what they can do. And, there's a story of a former security of Tazadakia named Nabia, who was actually told, who was put out, and when he was put out, he was told, you better not start spreading stuff about us, because we got things on you too. We got dirt on you too. So, these people, they know what they're doing. They videotape councils, they videotape almost everything, so they can have, that evidence when they need to present it. But they can always alter it and edit anything that they want to make themselves look like, innocent. But this is what they do when these stories come out. The cult distances themselves from these stories, and these members that do that and say, oh, well, we didn't, we tell them that we're not supposed to take our lives. Yeah, but at the same time, you're putting all these hard burdens and all these things that these members, can't fulfill, because they don't have the money to be paying 20% of their income, which is the tithing that's done in the ICGJC. And then on top of that, you're having kids left and right because you can't use, condoms. You can't use anything, any type of protection like that. You can't use birth control. You can't pull out. You can't do any of that. You just gotta, have babies and keep them coming. That's what the women really, that's like their job there. And that's part of the control too. This brother and the brothers, we've been controlled on, with this rank and with the Hebrew Academy and with Uniwork and going out and doing all this work. And sisters never really had that much to do. And that's part of the control. And the men do that. They do that in different cultures, man. You can see that amongst Muslims, which is a religion that's pretty similar to Judaism. Especially the Old Testament. Some of the customs, their customs are very similar. So when it comes to polygamy, it was all practice. But not only that, like the women, they had so much control over the women, they didn't allow them to really learn anything. And so everything that they knew and all the information, it's like they're being controlled by the man, which, some women like that. I'm not saying that it's wrong or right. Depending on how you do it, right? But the way that these religions are doing, I definitely see something wrong with that. But, you can have a relationship, that's fine. But you have to notice when you're being played and controlled, These people they completely ignore that in these cults, They see it, but they ignore it. Because to them, they have to go through that. Or, this is just temporary. That's constantly in their minds. And that's part of, why these doomsday cults are so, powerful, because, it's like a time limit on it. So it's like you feel kind of urgency. And that's what these cats have been taught in the ICGJC. Before Tazadakia died, I could imagine some of the cognitive dissonance going on in there, man. But now it says this is the father here. Well, that was the father's quotes. So it says shortly after that call, Kim met with church officials on Zoom to discuss his sin, according to his father. Black Hebrew Israelites are known for their confrontational style street preaching of unusual beliefs that Black Americans, West Indians, Latinos, and Native Americans are true biblical Jews of the Bible. And I like the way that they separated that there. They actually did that correctly. See how they have Black Americans, West Indians, Latinos, and Natives? Just real quick, so you can see the ignorance of the 12 tribes chart. Let's see here. Just so you can see, man, because I want to get the ICGJC one actually. 12 tribes, ICGJC. There's that joint. There we go. So, you see how the article says Black Americans and then just West Indians? It doesn't have to say Jamaicans. It doesn't have to say Haitians. It should just be West Indians. Haitians are West Indians. Another thing is, which I already brought this out before, but just to constantly go over the stupid shit, because you have to drill this in their brain. I know some of y'all are watching. So this is Reuben, right? Who is supposed to be the Seminole Indians. This is all lies, of course. But the Seminole Indians are North American Indians. So if you're saying Gad are North American Indians, and how far up do you go in North America too? Just there's just so many ways you could just dismantle this bullshit of a belief. Let's just keep reading though. So it says, I just like the way they separated that. That's the way you're supposed to do it. Let's go back. So it says, they say that the blacks, Native Americans, Latinos, West Indians are true biblical Jews of the Bible. Most Hebrew Israelites, including ICGJC, teach that Caucasians, Asians, Jews, and gay people are heathens and enemies akin to Satan himself. Yes, they do. Last year, the fringe group made national news for being linked to the fatal shooting of 2 Orthodox Jews in Jersey City, New Jersey. Yeah, I remember that. I did a video on that. That was David Anderson and his girlfriend, I forget her name, and they shot up that Jewish market. So yeah, the ICGJC came up in the news. I think it was on the New York Post because somebody at the New York Post allegedly. I mean, I don't even know how this information really came out, but it could be true. What's up, Jason Creed? But the landlord supposedly said that he saw David Anderson, who shot up the Jewish market, at the ICGJC standing outside before. And I don't know how true that is, but you know, he could know something that I don't know. But that's what the landlord supposedly said of 1941. I don't know. But that's how that connection came out. I didn't see any other articles. I think it was just the New York Post that put that out there. That's why I was a little, you know, I don't know. It might have some truth to it though. It could have did more digging. Yeah, so that was what, 2 years ago, I believe. And it says, and for their role inciting the Covington Catholic standoff at the Lincoln Memorial, initially misreported in the media. So, I mean, if they're talking about, you know, Hebrew Israelites in general, then yeah, it was Hebrew Israelites that incited the Covington Catholic standoff. I mean, yeah, they were the aggressors. They pretty much came to some MAGA. I forgot where they were at, in D.C., I believe. And that's a funny story. And it ended up being this whole controversy with the MAGA kids. And it's like, you know, everybody was just talking about how the kids looked so disrespectful. And they were just smiling. And I'm like, did you miss the part when the black Hebrew Israelites were calling the white man the devil and hurling all types of slurs and all types of crazy crap at people? You know, sometimes the news could be real funny, in particular about what they like to focus on. So, I mean, you know, the liberal news, they took that opportunity to you know, to shit on Donald Trump as they usually do. But you know, the real story behind that was that there were black Hebrew Israelites inciting this whole thing. You know, and the Native American came up drumming. You know, I feel like pulling that up, but I don't want to get away from the topic here. But that had nothing to do with the ICGJC. But those were some other Hebrew Israelites that are similar to, I think they were ISUPK. They could have been another group, but it's very similar to like the 90s ISUPK or GMS or something. They look like old school Israelites. But yeah, so that was misreported in the media. Yeah, there was a lot of bullshit they were trying to say that, you know, this was like an issue. They were trying to make it an issue with the MAGA people. And it was like they literally did nothing but was just like running around, you know, whatever. They weren't really inciting nothing. The Israelites were the ones calling people names and saying that people are going to go to hell and that Catholics are a bunch of, you know, faggots and all this stuff, man, and cursing people out. That's what they do best. You know, they can't get in a discussion alive, like, you know, I mean, Guerrilla Hebrew is different from a lot of these cats. But I've seen people like, if you know Hashar from AOC. Hashar from AOC is a street speaker. He just shouts, you know? And it's just like all these 1-2 punches, just boom, boom. And he don't give you time to think and research anything. It's just constantly giving you information that makes you, you know, confused. Because he's throwing you off balance and, you know, just putting out here, something here, and then the white man did this here, and then the 1800s, and then the 19, and just going through all the history, pinpointing all the things he doesn't like that a particular race of people did, you know, just grouping everybody to, you know, it's called group guilt, pretty much, which is something that we need to get away from. That's why I kept bringing up that you know, pretty much King David's baby was killed, because this is an ancient way of thinking. It's like this group guilt. It's like we place guilt on somebody else because they're related. And I mean, I know this is like more closely related with King David and his child, But this is crazy how they have, how they just find any relation with, any person either of color or of that's been downtrodden, like Native Americans. And just because of that, now all of a sudden, y'all could join us and we all Israelites, and it's like, but you cursing out white people all day long. It's this thing is like, this is constant. This is the daily life of an Israelite. Hand out flyers, talk to people about how they need to be an Israelite and join the group, stand out on the street and just holler and yell. And that's what they do best. But if you get them in an environment where you sit down and talk to them like I did with Guerrilla Hebrew, and how I brought him up to that 2nd Ezra chapter 13, you really get them to focus on the scriptures instead of just doing it here a little bit and then jumping somewhere else to distract you, which is what he was trying to do. Bringing up all different types of topics and just went away from the topic at hand, which was, which completely threw a monkey wrench in the entire doctrine. They see these things and they continue going as if, nope, that didn't just happen. This cognitive dissonance, I'm telling you, this could cause some psychological issues. Let's look that up. Cognitive dissonance. Constantly, let's look up this official definition here, because this is a psychological thing, man. It's the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially as relating to behavioral decisions and attitude change. Behavioral decisions and attitude change. Yeah, man. See that? Behavioral decisions, attitude change. There was a brother named I'm a One, man. This guy was one of my best friends up in that cult, in Orlando. And I always used to give him a ride all over the place, man. I didn't have no problem doing it. That was my boy. But that cult turned him into like this bipolar, over aggressive, just angry, man. And it completely changes people, That's part of it. You have these behavioral issues now. And, we couldn't diagnose this guy that committed suicide. We don't know what he was going through. Because it was too late. At the point that he got to, he was done. It was over for him for whatever reason. But this cognitive dissonance is no joke, what this could do to you. It's constant, inconsistent thoughts. We're going to go to Israel with Tazadakia, but Tazadakia is dead now. So what you going to do now? You just going to forget, just act like it never happened? And not address this to the people in the congregation? And have them thinking, this is not good. This is not good what's going on up in there. And I know people think it's innocent because it goes under the guise of religion and black power and all that shit. It's like, no, man. You got to look at what they're doing to the people. They're dividing black people, if anything. They're telling black people that they're not Africans. You got Captain Tazaryak with the ISUPK. Sadnetta brought a boy who's from Africa who moved to the States. He was like, this boy, well, I don't even know if he's from Africa, but they were like, this boy's he's African. He's from the Congo or wherever the hell he was from. It was like, can he go to your barbecue, your Hebrew Israelite barbecue? And Tazaryak said no to the child's face. He was a child, man. He's a black child. Yet you got some white ass looking dude, that's Hispanic, but looking whiter than me, standing right there next to Tazaryak. And Sanada says, you let this cat go in your barbecue and eat with you, but you won't let this child. That was one of the most disrespectful things I've ever seen. Sanada got some good images of these people, but this is inconsistent, man. It just doesn't follow with what you guys believe as a whole. You look at everything. You guys teach that you shouldn't be judged for the sins of your father, but then you see that God does it anyways, and you turn a blind eye and say what? How do you get over that? There is no getting over that. It's a contradiction in the Bible. Stop trying to reinterpret it so it doesn't contradict. That's called a confirmation bias. Yeah, you might have not known. You might have not known that there was a contradiction in the Bible. But guess what? Now you might know that there are contradictions. What are you going to do? Continue to believe it and make excuses? That's what a confirmation bias is the tendency to interpret new evidence as confirmation of one's existing beliefs or theories. And that's the problem. You have an existing belief that's, what's the word? That's dogmatic. Your belief is dogmatic. That's one thing that Hebrew Israelites, like Guerrilla Hebrew, will complain about with science is that, oh, science changes. That's good. What's so bad about that? We're constantly coming up new information. Why would you stay stuck on one place when there's always new things coming up? New information. Things update. Just like your genetics can update, because now you have more genetics available from different people who are sharing it all around the world. And we have more in the database now. And it gets more accurate over time. Not only that, but not only do we have more samples, but the technology gets better over time. There's so many things that Hebrew Israelites, they play to the ignorance of the uneducated. And because we don't know how science works, we don't know that science is not just an opinion, how one Hebrew Israelite or whatever he is was trying to tell me. I think he is a Hebrew Israelite. He's trying to tell me, brother, science is your opinion. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Or your religion is your opinion. It's your subjective belief. Science is based on objective. Objective. You know what that means? Objective. Say objective belief. Objectivity. Let's say that. We can read that just real quick because this is something that the group does to you, the cult does to you. There's really no objectivity. I mean, your subjective belief of a God becomes objective, right? In the church, your lies becomes y'all collectively believe in lies. So then these lies become objective. Objective means that it's not just recognized by one person. It's not your just personal belief. But these are objective lies. What's happening in the church? But objectivity is this. In philosophy, objectivity is the concept of truth independent from individual subjectivity. So there is the concept of truth. There is truth outside of your subjective belief, is what that's saying. So when you say that scientists they're just giving their opinion, that's not true. That's not an opinion. That's like saying a doctor's just giving you, it's just an opinion. No, this is medical advice from a doctor. You think that a medical advice from a doctor is just their opinion? And a plumber could be your doctor and his opinion is just as good as a doctor? You're going to trust a plumber. That's what this sounds like to me when I hear religious people constantly always try to bash science by bringing it down to the level of religion and saying that, oh, it's just your opinion. No, your belief is just your opinion. Speak for yourself. Just because you don't know how science works and you don't know these definitions, you don't know the difference between objectivity and subjectivity, you don't know how to come to valid conclusions, you don't know how to do these things. You need to be taught these things. You need to read books besides your damn KJV, Septuagint, whatever the hell bullshit, Book of Thomas, Book of Jasper and all this crap. All these, like you just taken all this information of mythology and you think it's real. Like, what is this tendency to look back into history to think that they had some secret knowledge that we don't have today? Well, what is this? This is not just in the Hebrew Israelite community. This is like the woke cult. You can find this with all these woke people, man. They always want to claim that we was kings and shit. It's like, why can't you be somebody today, your own individual person? You want to attach yourself to some history and some tribe so you can feel good about yourself. Like, come on, man. This is what the Hebrew Israelite cult does because it specifies and it really makes importance, like a great importance on race, and who you are. Like that's so important, who you are. Like you have some type of status with God. You know, this guy, Kim, his family, I hope they understand what really happened here, because these people like to isolate family members from the family. So you don't really see, you might see some changes, but what starts to happen is that these you just get so isolated that you lose track of what's going on. I went years where I didn't talk or see a lot of my family and close friends when I was in the cult, because I was so busy and I knew that these people, they're not going to listen to me. Or I had already tried and I gave up on them because, this is not for everybody. Not everybody is going to agree with the Black Hebrew Israelite faith, because that's all it is. It's just a faith. But let's just continue reading this because it's pretty long. So we finished it off right there. So it says, Michael, who attends the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Brooklyn, tried to talk to his son about the Black Hebrew Israelite faith. See, the Seventh-day Adventist Church is a cult also, though. So the father's involved in a cult. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is a cult. It came out of the Russellites. And it was started by Ellen G. White. And they have, it's on a bigger level now. That's what I think the real difference between a cult and a religion is just, I guess, over time, a cult becomes a religion. And a cult is like the man that's supposed to be the figure is still alive, I guess. And, a religion would be after that major figure dies, and now you have the religion of that guy. But, this ICGJC is not going to turn into a major religion. This is a little group in a little hole-in-the-wall building in Harlem. They have other members in other cities, but they're dwindling, And this is the type of stuff that's happening in the cult. People are miserable in there. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is it's definitely better than the Black Hebrew Israelites, as far as how they talk to people and how they try to, they still divide people though, man. Seventh-day Adventist Church, Jehovah's Witness, these are cults. These were started by people that were claiming to be, close to God, claiming to be a messenger of God. How was that ever proven? You can't even prove the existence of a God, and specify your specific Yahweh, your God. You can't locate that. You don't know. You're going based off stories from a book. What did you do to corroborate those stories to prove that there is a God, that it's Yahweh, that he spoke to Ellen G. White, or that he spoke to Tazadakia, or that he spoke to any of these people that claim to have spoken to God? These churches can do good in communities. There's nothing that you can do in a church that you can't do outside of a church. There's nothing that you can do in the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ to help people that you can't do outside of that to help people. There's nothing that you can't do. They think that they're helping people with the belief and wearing fringes. It's like all these things are irrelevant. How is telling people to wear fringes going to help them in their life? How does that help them at all? Because God said it? Why did God say to put on fringes? What's the purpose of that? And why is it so much emphasis put on something so trivial? That's the Bible for you, man. And we're going to go into that Bible Babble, series. I'm going to start doing more of those, which is pretty much is going to be dealing with the craziness in the Bible. Stay tuned for that. So this is the father of the Black Hebrew Israelite, A lot of these people, not a lot, but I guess a lot of us had already had family that was in, these religious beliefs. I know I was with the Catholic Church, and I know a lot of people that said that they were in the Mormon Church. There was a brother in Philly. I remember he told me his family was all in the Mormon Church, and they went from the Mormon Church to the ICGJC. And the beliefs, the things that they teach are very similar, because Mormons do teach that the Native Americans are the Hebrew Israelites. This is craziness. Just like that, just like the ICGJC, have a lot of similar doctrines. But one thing that they all have in common, even though they have differences in their doctrine, is that they tell their members that they have to go through their church or they're not going to make it to God. And they tell their members that the leaders of their church spoke to God. Same story, different cult. So it says, I tried to talk to his son. Well, let's read it. Michael, who attends the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Brooklyn, tried to talk to his son about the Black Hebrew Israelite faith, but that always seemed to cause arguments. Yeah, I would get into arguments with my brother, my aunt, my family members, all over, friends. Man, I mean, so many issues, so many fights over the phone, in person, with strangers, with coworkers at work, getting spoken to by managers that I shouldn't be talking about these things at work, and continue to do that, trying to recruit people, I was gung-ho about it. And yeah, that's what happens. People try to challenge you, and it's like you become so attached to this that you feel that if you turn back, and they warn you, they love bringing up that scripture, going back to this vomit, they love throwing that at people because it almost degrades them, as a dog. And it's like, hold on, you're the one that's following a damn tyrant like a dog without any thought. I mean, a lot of these these beliefs, there's no thought to it. Why do you wear fringes? Because God says to. That doesn't require any thought. There's no logic behind it. It's just God said so. You're not using your brain there. Let's continue reading here. So, yeah, he said here, I begged him to show me the church. Oh wait, no. Constant argument. Yeah, to cause arguments. The son remained a member of the church for more than a decade. Wow. So if he was 31, so he came in when he was 21. You see what this does? These are people 21 years old. I don't know the guy's life, but I know, for example, myself and a lot of people that I talk to, and in Orlando, Miami, we were young, man. We came in young. I came in when I was 20. I didn't go immediately into college. So I had a time period where I was like, what am I going to do with my life? And I spoke to my brother Terry on a live a few weeks ago where he said the same thing. He was kind of looking for something, because especially people that are in poverty, we usually don't have plans to go to college. We don't have the money to do a lot of things. And we're kind of like in limbo after we graduate from high school, or if we even graduate from high school. And there's a time period, at least for me, there was a time period after high school where I was like, I don't, I got to work. I got to make money. I guess I could eventually go to college later. I didn't even know what I was going to do. When this came along, when I started learning this, I thought I was learning something that was, the greatest thing, a hidden gem, like it was like that. And I felt like, damn, this is like knowledge. I felt wise, like woke, going back to that. That's how I felt. There's a desire to be, up on shit, to be on top of stuff, and tell people, yo, yeah, I know about that. I know about this. You hear, that's why you hear people talk about, the popular thing right now is melanin and the pineal gland. You can't have your pineal gland calcified, brother. You got to uncalcify your pineal gland, and then you'll be able to connect it. And they talk all this pseudo shit, because they attribute melanin as some type of like force, some type of like heavenly force that's some special out of the world thing. So what are they doing? They're saying that the same thing white people were doing with the color and segregation, saying that because my color, my melanin, I'm better than you. It's like that has nothing to do with intelligence. They were making it seem as if melanin has something to do with intelligence and compassion, right? I think Nick Cannon said that. Melanin deals with compassion. It's like, what are you talking about, man? No, it doesn't. Where do you get any of that from? Melanin deals with your proximity to the sun and how much UV rays that you're getting depending on your proximity, from the equator, Because if you're closer to the equator, you're going to get more UV rays. So that's why you see that everything is in conjunction with that, with the UV rays. You can go all throughout the world and see the pigmentation, the melanin, the distribution, and you can see that it's intact with the UV rays. So it's completely connected to that. Has nothing to do with anything else. Doesn't help with your intelligence at all. So, you know, this is like what do they call this? Eugenics, right? But reversed. It's like I see this is like not just in the Black Hebrew Israelite community, you know. But this is what attracts people to this, you know, because you're able to. You think that you can teach people things and show people things, and it gives you confidence in yourself. Maybe you don't have a good education, and this serves as, you know, something to fill that void where, you know, you once maybe didn't never felt smart, and now you do feel smart because you think you're learning something. And it's like, man, these Bibles been read for years. There's nothing new, you know, like there's so many. You can go online and Google interpretations and different translations, and like people have their own interpretations of passages, and might have slight changes, but there's always going to be somebody that's going to come behind that person and take that understanding and say, yeah, I like this. I'm going to use this. So you're just going by what somebody's saying now. So, you know, and mixing that, and that's kind of what Tazadakia did with this cult. This is what was so impressive. He took a lot of things that were like mysteries and tried to give answers for that. And this whole 12 tribes and lost tribes, Israelite stuff, it's the perfect story for that, you know, because it puts you at a high level, and now you have an enemy, which is embodied as, you know, Esau, which is supposed to be the white man. And none of it is true. But they find a correlation in the Bible with, you know, this person is evil, this person's red, and they say it must be the white man, must be the father of the white man. It's like, these are just stories, man. Where's the evidence to corroborate that claim? So, a church clouded by controversy. It says, the ICGJC meets at 1941 Madison Avenue in the heart of Harlem, surrounded by black history and cultural icons like the National Black Theater, several jazz clubs, and Sylvia's Southern Food Restaurant, along with newer attractions like the Black Ink Tattoo Shop, which is off limits to Black Hebrew Israelites. Two high-ranking ex-members of ICGJC who left in 2016 after decades of involvement told Religion Unplugged the organization exercises cult-like control over its members, requiring them to ask permission to miss any services, even for funerals or a birthday. Even for a funeral or birthday. Yeah, when my brother passed away in 2009, I was still in the cult, and I had to get permission to go up to New York to go to his funeral. There was a brother whose father died, and he had like a rank of an apostle or some high rank, and his father died, and instead of them allowing him to go see his father, to go to the funeral to say goodbye to his father one last time, they told that brother that you need to let the dead bury the dead, which is a scripture, you know, in the Bible that Jesus Christ told to one of his disciples, which is crazy. I don't care who said it. I don't care if Jesus Christ said it. Doesn't give, and if Jesus Christ said it, what does it give some man the right to tell that to a person whose father just died? You know, crazy story, man. Crazy stories. There's so many stories that come up when I read things, like, you know, just pop up in my head that I forgot about, because, you know, there's members that don't tell their stories. They keep it quiet. You know, they hide all this stuff. Like this right here, this story, I bet you there's members in the cult that don't even know that this happened at all. They keep these stories quiet because it's negative press. And a lot of people didn't hear about this, man. So I wanted to make a video just focused on this. This is very important. So this Black Hebrew Israelite cult is really in the heart of Harlem, like they're saying here. And you can go and learn the history of the black Jews in Harlem and how it all came about. It was never, an acknowledgement that these are the original Hebrew Israelites. It was never anything like that. It's just people that clung to a religion. And over time it changed, and this is what it is right now. These people think that this place is the doorway to heaven. You got to kind of try to put you in their shoes. It's really hard because there's something that triggered. There's some breakdown or something that they told them that triggered something in their brain that it just made sense to them. Can't explain it. Everybody, has their own story. But this is this man's story. So it says, so we were at the funeral part here. So they require them to ask permission to miss any services, even for a funeral or birthday. Yeah, you just can't miss a service when you're a ranking member in the cult. You can't just miss a day. You got to call. And if you don't call, you're going to get in trouble even if you show up. Got to call. You got to let them know you're going to be there. If you're late, you got to let them know you're late. If you're not going to be there, you got to let them know you're not going to be there, and you better have a good excuse. And usually there's not a good excuse. I mean, if they don't let you go to a funeral, your own father's funeral, there's you have to give your whole life for this cult. There's men that used to stand hours, like I'm talking about 20 hours straight, more than that, on their feet. That you would see them when they were finally relieved off post, they would like hop somewhere into the closest seat because they can't be on their feet any longer. These are humans. People in there get treated like with no care, no regard for feelings, any pain. It's like you're not supposed to feel that. And any feelings of emotions and pain, it's almost like you're not worthy, like you're almost a heathen, like you're not good enough. Man, it's just crazy, man. So, not only do they not allow you to just take time off, they threaten excommunication for sins like sexual immorality, acts of violence, and using narcotics. So, sexual immorality to them could include a man going down on a woman. Although Tazadakia did tell a brother that it's okay to do that, and he wanted to bring that out in a class, but it doesn't seem like he ever did. I don't know, maybe he did. But that used to be considered, in the cult at least, if it was changed, it used to be considered sexual immorality. And you can see that most of these Hebrew Israelites, GMS, ISUPK, Sakari, they'll tell you, no, we can't go down on a woman. Can't do that. but a woman could go down on them. That's how they work. Now we got, where we at here? Sexual immorality, acts of violence, and using narcotics. So yeah, people get put out for things like that. People get put out for way less than that, though. This is like, you get put out permanently. And you might, this is nothing. People get put out for missing 4 days of classes in a row. 4 weeks. 4 Sabbath days of classes in a row, which is 4 weeks. But it's because the Sabbath is important, to them, of course. One of the 10 Commandments. But, besides the 10 Commandments, they have, they'll tell you there's over 700, 600 laws or whatever the hell. I don't even know how many. And they try to say that they keep all of those laws. That's why they put fringes and all these, unnecessary things, man. So even showing up 2 minutes late to the Sabbath is enough to be told you're wicked, they said. That's true. We know members who leave, a lot of them. So this is quotes, right? So this is somebody speaking here. We know members who leave, a lot of them. They need to seek psychiatric help because of the abuse that happens. Ivan, an ex-member, told Religion Unplugged. He did not want his last name published. What's taught is that if you're not in there, in the group, you're wicked and going to hell. Yeah, so like I was saying, because this is a former member too. He knows exactly. He knows better than me, if anything. If you're not in the group, you're a rebel. You're going to hell. You have to be in the group. That's why it's called the Israelite Church of God in Jesus Christ. That's very important that they stress that they're in Jesus Christ. And if you're not in the church, you're out. You're not in Christ. So it says, Noel Sanchez, a former bishop in the church and an ex-member, said many ex-members of the ICGJC, now decades later, think something's going to happen to them. Something violent, like you're going to get hit by a truck, or your family is going to burn in their house, or you're going to walk in the middle of a gunfight and get shot. The ultimate thing is you go to hell. So, yeah, not only do they threaten that you're going to go to hell when you die, they also threaten you that you're going to die, probably soon. And if anything happens to you, they can't wait to spread that news amongst the congregation to praise God. They'll praise God for you getting hurt or dying. They'll do that. They make light, like Tazadakia making fun of Martin Luther King being shot when he said, I have a dream, pow. He did that in a few videos. He's making fun of a person's death. But now that he's dead, it would be horribly wrong for us. The greatest sin for us to make fun of Tazadakia's death. But he could do it. So they think they have more privilege than others, These are it's like a spoiled narcissist. That's what they raise, a bunch of narcissistic sociopaths. That's the type of people that this environment, fosters pretty much. It's just damn, people that just expect the world to just be handed to them. And you're just gonna have slaves. They're gonna take care of your 155 children that you have. They're all gonna change their diapers. That's what some of these women would be talking about. I'm gonna have all my slaves change all my babies' diapers. Yeah, this is some really dumb shit, Like this is fairyland. You're living in damn Looneyville, Toontown. This is not real life, man.
Yes, sir. Holy God,
this is why I wanted to bring up that psychosis, because this guy's not living in real life anyways. I mean, what they have these people thinking, this is not real, man. That Tazadakia, oh my bad. That Tazadakia damn went to Jerusalem and spoke to God. And then they want to go back on that, like St. Basil had did and said that, who said that he had to get the Holy Spirit in Israel anyways? He said that. Stupid. You don't remember? Like, they just forget. Is this really something wrong with your mind? That's what I'm saying. This cognitive dissonance, man. It's causing these inconsistent thoughts. That you're forgetting that he said that? Like, what's wrong with some of y'all, man? I'm really worried about y'all. And I still have friends and family in there. And it's like, this is why I'm doing this, because I'm seriously worried about people in there. Yeah, people think that they're going to die and then go to hell. And then you're going to die a horrible death. Tazadaki used to say it's going to be like Final Destination. You're going to have, crazy shit like that. And if you ever seen that movie, you see how extreme it gets and how almost impossible, like the craziest deaths that you can think of. When did that ever happen to any member? Or a former member speaking against? That's happened to current members, if anything. There's more current members dying than former members, if anything. If you want to really tally it up. I mean, Tazadaki is dead. Sainthood got shot. This was a mistaken identity in Philly. Sainthood, a high-ranking, long-time member. I remember him. I actually sent him a message online on Facebook. He responded. Yeah, he was a die-hard believer, man. He was never going to leave that place. And one of his best friends in there, who I believe is St. Basil's brother, who left the cult too, that man told Saint Basil's brother that Tazadakia had just told him that he's gonna be all right. He's gonna walk again, and that he's gonna live. And then not too long after that, and this is the only person that Sainthood told, I believe, possibly told his family. I'm not sure, actually. Let me not put that out there. But, this is the story that I heard. This brother did leave recently. And that was the reason behind that. Because they thought that he was going to be all right. The dude ended up dying. So you had a holy sister, a holy woman or whatever, out in Orlando that, like, what was it? Man, what's that rank? It's not a holy sister. Whatever the rank is that the women have in there. This is supposed to be a high rank. Like, this is supposed to be a protected sister. And she died too. So now you got Tazadaki, you got Sainthood, you got a holy sister or whatever. And then now you got this brother who committed suicide. You had another brother who committed suicide in Orlando that I mentioned. And you had a brother named Shabar that allegedly committed suicide and hung himself. Shabar is one of the most well-known Hebrew Israelites since the 90s because he stood like 6'6". And you can see him in, what's that? The Louis Theroux. That is like a comedian, man. He's just fucking with them. That's Shabar right there, man. Damn. And they broke him, man. Tazadakia had to break him because this guy was one of the top high-ranking people. To be told that Jesus Christ is going to come back in the year 2000 and then believe in this for years, and then it doesn't happen, it's got to cause some type of, some cognitive issues to continue to stay in a cult that just lied to you for a decade about a major thing. This is not something small. This is a major. The second coming of Jesus Christ was supposed to happen in the year 2000. Doomsday doctrine, the end of days. You got to join us quickly, brother, lest you perish. Like, shut up, man. Like, I ain't joining none of y'all, man. Any of these groups out here, I don't care if it's damn a Hebrew Israelite, damn a woke Kemet, BLM, and any of these people out here that want you to join up with them because they're going to fight for the black man's cause and we're going to prevail. And it's like, you can fight for your own cause. You don't need to join up with nobody and group up. What is this tribalism? Are we going back to damn... Why are we going back to these ancient times where we want to segregate? A lot of these black nationalists, like, you don't even have to be a black nationalist anymore. It's like, it's almost crept into, like, the school system, these educated people graduating from Ivy League schools. Almost have, like, a touch of black nationalism with them. Democrats, too. And it's like they can't just let go of this wanting to be the white knight for the black community and save them. And it's like, why don't you put more money into the schools that are disenfranchised and teach them how to manage money instead of trying to teach them how to do bullshit, things that are not going to benefit them in the future. Teach them how to manage money, how to do taxes properly. Things like this, man. These churches don't do this. These people don't benefit. They don't teach you things that are going to benefit you. They teach you how you can help them, serve them. And they, they represent God, pretty much. They could say, you could be doing work day in, day out, editing videos, recording, being the cameraman, cooking in Jacob's Cafe. You could be doing all of this, and it's never good enough. It's you're doing it for God. You're not doing it for the men, even though the men sit back and eat the food and don't do anything. They have everybody else work for them. The members are the drivers, the members are the security. They build up the church, they paint the church, they clean the church. They're in charge of setting up events. and it all gets done, and the people at the top just sit back, kick back, and get fat. And the work comes from the people, and the power is all in the people anyways. Christ. Oh yeah, I just wanted to read. That's what Samson said. He said it was caused by AOC, Ambassadors of Christ. Okay. I always thought it was Army of Christ, but it's Ambassadors of Christ. Okay. And then Jason Kreese said the 10 tribes doctrine was accepted as long as it was because dudes wanted an excuse to date out from black women. Yeah. It wasn't just that though. I'm sure that was definitely like, hey, bring them in, brother. They was already doing that. But now they got an excuse, right? But look at New York City, though, right? This is a cult that is headquartered in New York City. The number one ethnic group in New York City are Dominicans. I believe so till this day. It has been for a while. Dominicans are the number one ethnic group. People from Dominican Republic. They love traveling to New York. So you almost have to have them. Puerto Ricans are heavy in New York City. They've got to be top 5. Jamaicans are top 2. I believe they're number 2. I don't know if it's changed. It's been a while since I checked the numbers, and there's been a lot of moving in and out, especially since COVID, out of a city like New York City. But this was a power move for them to put in the 12 tribes chart. Let's add, the natives. Let's add the Hispanics, and we can put in this Mormon doctrine. It fit perfect with this belief. Pretty well. It doesn't fit perfect if you're honest and intelligent. If you look at the scriptures for what it is, but if you just believe whatever they teach you, anyways, they can reinterpret anything to mean whatever they want. To mean whatever they want it to mean. They can reinterpret it. That's why they take scriptures like that where it says God's hair or Jesus Christ's hair was white like wool and reinterpret that to say that it doesn't mean the color. It's talking about the texture. Part of the ways that they mess with your mind. Just some of those ways that they mess with your mind. So let's continue reading this. So we read this paragraph here. So let's continue right here. It says, the church also requires heavy financial support, even coercing members to rack up credit card debt to pay a minimum of 20% of their income each month to the church. In addition to other fees, their former leader, Jermaine Grant, called their Holy God Sent Comforter and Chief High Priest Tazadakia, was sentenced to 18 months in prison for stealing church funds before he died of the coronavirus at age 44 in April. Let me see if there's an article here. Yeah. So here's that article. There's many different articles, but this is Tazadaka here with some of his minions that refuse to leave his side. This guy. Oh man, these guys been there for years. This guy right here. And that's his Tazadaka's brother. This cat right here is a damn vagabond and a horrible father, man. His wife left tons of messages on my videos, man, talking about what a horrible father he is and how he be fronting. He don't come around. He be fronting like he wants to. He don't want to be part of it, because the wife ain't down with the cult no more. Some shit. Now you have the permission to leave them. This cat got a bunch of kids, don't even give a damn about them. Horrible men, horrible figures. And these are people that were given so much or learned and went through major life experiences in the church. That's another thing. You go through major life experiences in a cult, that thing is going to be ingrained. It's going to be like, this cult is going to mean a lot more to you. And I think that cat that I was showing you, learned how to read in the cult. Forget his name. Karadaza Gabar or something. I forget. He had a long ass name. This is a narcissist right here. I saw him in front of the cult, in front of the building when Vocab Malone went out there. He was trying to put his hand which he was trying to do in front of the courthouse too, with the Taza Detox people. He's trying to put his hand, to block, but then what they can record, but you can't record them because they feel like they have more privilege, right? They have higher status. This is why you have people that don't take care of the kids, treat the women like crap, and turn out to be narcissistic sociopaths because they learn from the main number one narcissistic sociopath right here, Jermaine Grant. They learn from that. They're around him so much. They think he's funny. They think he's intelligent. All of that. They want to be like him. Yashar literally broke down in tears one time, crying about how much he loves Tazadakia. That's one of the chief priests. This is how much of an effect and control Tazadakia has on these people. So you get an idea of what this guy could have been going through, man. This is crazy. So Tazadakia died, of the coronavirus, age 44 on April 1st. Sanchez said Grant once threw him to the ground for questioning him, giving him a bloody mouth. The church did not respond to requests for comments. Yeah, man. So, Tazadakia was beating on these members too. This is a story that doesn't get spoken about enough. Tazadakia was beating up his members, man. And this is not the only one. He beat up a few people. The ex-members remember 3 other suicides within the church over the years and cited rumors of foul play and one death. But the police determined the case lacked evidence. That's the one with Shabar. That's the one that looked like there might have been some foul play. And Shabar was up there. Shabar was even there when the ICGJC went to the Jerry Springer show. Shabar was there, trying to shut Tazadakia down, I believe. I think they all were trying to shut Tazadakia down because Tazadakia was trying to stand out. Who knows if he had already got paid off by then to infiltrate the church? Why is he trying to stand out so much? On a Jerry Springer show. Yeah, there's old videos of Tazadakia on the Jerry Springer show, if y'all don't know that. And Shabar was right there. And that's just the death there that was, always suspected of foul play. Like I said, I don't know the details. There are people that do investigations. And if the investigation lacked evidence, I guess that's what we have to go by, right? We could speculate if you want to speculate. Yeah, I understand that this is a shady, cult. It's a shady group. And when things like this happen, you start to think, was there something foul play involved possibly? I don't know. Oh, they could be talking about Maya Ka'ala. I forgot about that guy. Maya Ka'ala goes way back. And, I believe that was ruled as suicide, but it was always suspected that maybe it wasn't because he had won some money or something like that before. He died, like not too long before that. And Maya Ka'ala is the brother of a high-ranking member named Amathia Makapash, who's still in the cult, and he was told years ago that his brother was going to resurrect from the dead, like soon. And Tazadakia went back and said, well, I never said it was going to happen soon. But people that were there knew that he was talking about this happening before Christ came back. But he was trying to make it seem like he was talking about, well, we all going to resurrect. Christ is going to resurrect. No, he was talking about that happening during this time as something to show that God is with us and that people were going to go crazy when they saw that he came back from the dead. That's what Tazadakia said. And he tried to lie and say that, well, I never said, he never said that. You have the proof? Where's the videotape? He has the videotape on that. You think he's going to release that? And then his brother, Amathi Makapash, you idiot. You hear, still standing up for these people. Looking old and deteriorated and like a Pillsbury Doughboy. What's some of y'all's minds out here, man? How are you still in this cult? When these people said that your brother who committed suicide was possibly some foul play, which I think this is the one that they're talking about. I'm not sure. You know, how are you still in there? They promised that he was going to resurrect from the dead like 20 years ago, man. Like, you still in there? You know, going from state to state, pushing people to give money with your fat and damn neck and your fat head. I can't stand a Mathemakapash, man. I'm gonna get on you for being the dude that's out there pushing people to, you know, taking money. And then you told a member, recently I heard this, there was a member that needed help. And he filled out a council paper incorrectly. And when he went up all the way to New York, he paid for a flight, got up to New York, went to council. They told him that he filled out the council paper wrong and that he has to come back because he was asking for a loan or something like that when he should have been asking for help. And he asked if he could just redo it now. And they said, nope, you got to do this in order, brother. You got to go back to Orlando, fill the paperwork out, get a flight and come back out here. Then we'll deal with that. And he said, all right, I'm going to do that then. So this man, after everything they just told him, he still had the humility to say, okay, I'll do that. When that's insanity, that's insane. You're being forced over a little paperwork. You got to go all the way back to New York and pay more money when you're actually going there to ask for money. He's going there to ask for help. They didn't help him the first time. When he left, when he was on his way out, Amathi Makapash comes down and asks the brother, you gonna come back? You understand you can't ask for money, you can't ask for loans, you can ask for help, but you can't ask for a loan. That's what they said. The brother was trying to say that he'll pay it back just to not seem like a lease, to just take money from. He said, I'll pay them back. And they were like, brother, you think this is a bank? This is a loan? And it's like, well, he's doing that because he needs help. They're like, well, fill it out and say that you need help. Fill out the council paper correctly. The dude is waiting downstairs to go back to the damn airport and sleep at the airport so he could catch his flight the next day because he has nowhere to stay because he went up there just to go to council. Mathi Makapash comes down and asks the brother, you still thinking about coming back though? Because you can't ask for money. You gotta just you gotta be. And then if you do come back, the brother said, yeah, I am going to come back. He was like, are you sure for real? You going to come back? It's like they couldn't even believe it because they purposely do that so you don't come back. So you don't bother them. They purposely make it hard for you to get up there. People still do it though. Amathi Makapash said, brother, you understand that it's not guaranteed that even if you do come back and fill it out correctly and come ask for help, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get it. That brother told me that story and told me that something clicked in his brain after that. That was it for him. And that story is sad because there's a lot more with that brother. And I would have never thought that he was dealing with everything that he was dealing with. You don't know what some of these brothers are dealing with. And you get pushed. When I get pushed, and I know that brother that told me that story, when he gets pushed, he gets angry. When I get pushed, I get to a point where I start to push back. You can't push me to a certain level. I start to push back, and that's what started happening. Yeah, at first I was, I came in, I'm docile, nonchalant, don't want any confrontation, wanting to learn, open to learn, hungry for knowledge. That's how I was when I first came in there, but they put you through so much unnecessary things like what they told that brother, what they told him that he had to do. And then don't get your hopes up, brother. You doesn't mean you're going to get help just because you're going to come back a second time. It's like, what am I doing all of this for? Why am I paying $350, $400 for a flight? And he can't even pay for a round-trip flight because they might ask him to stay. You couldn't even pay for round-trip flights sometimes because you go up to New York, you might have to wait longer than when your flight is. And they're not going to tell you that you go ahead, brother, we're going to get you, or come in, we'll accommodate you. No, they don't accommodate you. You accommodate them. You wait for them. It could be 10 below outside. You're going to wait outside. You can't wait inside the building when you're out there because you ain't part of the church. So you got to wait outside. You wanted to come back in the church or whatever. And for people coming up there for councils too. But they treat the people that are coming back, trying to come back into the cult, they treat them more like crap. But they control you in this way. And if something doesn't click, you're just gonna stay in there. You're gonna keep putting it off to the side and casting blame somewhere else. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. What am I not understanding? That's what starts happening when people start going through these hard times. They start blaming it on them instead of thinking, well, I'm paying 20% to the cult. All my time is being given to the cult. Some of these brothers can't even keep a decent job. It was hard for me to keep a job after a while, because they were asking so much of me as a captain. So it was hard. It was hard to do good at your job, to excel, because you're giving all your time elsewhere. So you can't really do anything anywhere else. You can't put your energy and time because they take it all up. So let's continue reading. So, I also remember. So yeah, let's do this. They also remember the day that Kim first visited the organization as a teenager and watched him grow into a young man in the community. Kim was very poised, reserved, respectful, and courteous, they said. A good man who followed the church protocol. Yeah. Just wanted to see this real quick. Just so you could see, that there are families here mourning. Okay. We'll read those comments later because I didn't even realize that you could comment on there. Okay, so he was down here. So, he's described as a good, decent human being, man. They didn't seem to have many problems with people in the cult. There were a lot of people like that. You'll find those people. They're good people in there. But these good people are turned into bad people because they get so used to being treated a certain way. They think that this is the normal way of treating people because they treat everybody in the church. It's how my leaders treat, me. This is how my leaders treat me. I have to treat my subjects, the people that are under me, similar ways. Same thing. I mean, we learn from watching what our leaders do, and we think that that's the example. So it says here, while in high school in Brooklyn, well, let's read the title. It says Kim Lubrin's odd relationship with the black Hebrew Israelites. While in high school in Brooklyn, Kim's friend invited him and his cousin Dylan to the church. The leaders required them to place a cell phone in a basket before entering. After that first service, Dylan never returned to the church, but Kim was drawn to the group. He stayed active with the group for nearly 15 years. Part of the appeal, according to the ex-members, is a church that recognizes the pain of racism and elevates the black and brown experience. After all, they believe they are God's true chosen race. Every other ethnicity has a God that looks like them, Ivan said. God is black, the Jews are black, and these are the 12 tribes of Israel. That draws people in, especially if you're someone who has never read the Bible or was misled in the past or didn't believe in God. The indoctrination is, we're a nation in exile and we're building the nation back up. Yeah, that's exactly what they teach you. You're part of a nation and you got to put in your brick. And, the work, everything that we had to do was our brick. But man, I mean, the one brick wasn't enough. But, yeah, let's keep reading here. So, once you're in, Ivan said, everything changes. Earlier this year, Kim's family noticed he started wearing more secular Western clothing, not the religious garments worn by the church. Michael was happy about Kim's change in appearance and believed that God was answering his prayers. Then in July, Kim moved out of his father's home in Brooklyn to a brownstone apartment in Harlem, a few blocks from the church. A few days before his fatal leap, Kim called many of his family members to tell them he loved them. I say to Kim, excuse me, you're talking like you're about to die, Michael said. My son says no, so I went my merry way and didn't think anything of it. That was Friday, not knowing that Monday my son would commit suicide. Michael believes Kim was indoctrinated. Yeah, it's a brainwashing. It's an indoctrination. It's trickery, using the color of Jesus Christ to reel you in, to make you feel, find the connection to a major figure, right? The biggest religious figure ever, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is black. He's like me. To hear something like that really could do something for a person that's already a believer or looking for, some type of comfort and upliftment. Like Ivan was saying, that black and brown experiences is not often it's not a good experience. It's not an experience that people would choose if they had an option, right? You had an option between some other experiences. And not to relegate the black and brown experience as constantly being something that's miserable, and that's not always the case, but we understand that in this country that is definitely a common thing to see in the hood is black and brown people. Now, it says missing pieces of the puzzle, right? Oh, no, wait, hold on. Where was we at? Okay, no, we here. I believe that because he was struggling in the faith, somebody indoctrinated this boy to do what he did, Michael said. Maybe the church told him he had to redeem himself after his struggle. Man. Yeah, struggling with his faith. I remember being there. That is a really hard time for me. I spoke about that. I forgot what video I spoke about that in. It was recently in one of my lives. It's probably the video that says leaving Israelite cult or something like that. Yeah, the time frame when I got put out and I wanted to come back, but I was conflicted. I didn't want to have rank. I wanted to come back and not have any rank, so that way I didn't have to have so much of my time taken up. So I was already, realizing that something's wrong. I shouldn't be feeling like this because I never felt like that before. I was always willing to be the teacher and have rank. I liked doing that. But after being out for a while and seeing how much they take, control of your life, I realized that I didn't want to go back to that. That responsibility of being a ranking member, because they overwork you. So I still was a believer in the doctrine, but I just didn't want any rank because it was tough, and they played you, man. They treated you like shit. They talked to you like a child and always made you feel like you're an idiot, like you're not bright, because like I said, the leadership gets it from the leadership and it trickles down to everybody else. And that treatment, just becomes normal in there. So that's probably going to change now that Tazadaki is dead. But who knows, man, because his fucking touch still lingers there, right? These people are still crying for that man, probably. But yeah, man, that struggle is real. When you're sitting there and you're questioning yourself and you're questioning your own sanity, pretty much. You're questioning your own mind, your own convictions, where you were once convicted. Now you're questioning that, and you might not know where to go from there. It's tough. That shit wasn't easy for me. I didn't know where to go from being an Hebrew Israelite. I was like, well, what the hell do I do now? I can't go to another religion. But I did try. But I knew that once I started getting back into that Bible and started going back to those scriptures, the racism, the damn genocide, all that crazy shit in the Bible, the contradictions, the misinterpretations, of the color of Christ and the color of the Israelites, all these lies that not only the Hebrew Israelites made up, but the contradictions in the Bible, so many things that, I went into studying hard. Like, I mean, I did so much studying on the origins of the scriptures. What's the Septuagint? What's the Masoretic text? What's the scrolls of Qumran? What was added and what was, removed? What's the difference between the KJV and the Bishop's Bible? I wanted to know all of that. I wanted to not only know that, I wanted to know, what do we know that corroborates with the scriptures? What do we have that's historic? What evidence? And there's not a lot. I mean, there really isn't enough to prove at least the important things of the Bible. I mean, yeah, there's going to be some things that verify maybe some cities, the locations of cities, the capitals of cities, maybe the rulers of a city, the time frame that the ruler ruled that city. Like, those things might be in the Bible, or they might be a little bit off. And it's like, even if those things are off, it's like, it's pretty irrelevant. But if you're going to have something like, King David's baby, you have where it says that the sun was created after the earth, when everybody knows, when you're dealing with science, the sun came before the earth. I mean, that should go without saying, but that was a mistake made. But, I mean, discernment, yeah, like Liz Henry said, this is such a tragic death. I thank God for discernment. I hear that word a lot, man. I was just talking to somebody about that with discernment. It's like, discernment is not good enough, for me at least. You don't, because to discern, let's just look that up. You just might be making a observation, like just a quick observation, right? Let me just see. I don't know. Just get the correct one. To perceive or recognize something. I can discern no difference between the two policies. To make a distinction or a discernment. I mean, if you're thanking God for that ability, I don't know, because this man Kim here was seeking God. He was really seeking God. The only thing that he was able to discern, I would say, is that there was probably some issues there. I would say he was probably realizing that there was some issues with his belief. It was causing cognitive dissonance, probably, inconsistent thoughts. And, just discerning. But what I mean by like just judging, discerning, that's something that we do just looking at stuff and thinking, right? I think that's what I think about when I look at discern. I like testing things. This is why I like science, because you don't need discernment with science. With science, you actually get results. You get accurate results. And you don't get these maybes, and you don't need faith. You don't need any of that stuff. This was a problem with this whole thing. It's not just black Hebrew Israelites. It's not just cults. It's the Bible is the problem here. The way that these people were trained to believe without evidence, you don't need evidence to believe, you just need faith. That's what these churches preach. So they think faith is good enough to believe that they're Hebrew Israelites, that their leader is sent from God. So I blame religion. I blame this whole belief in God as the issue in the first place. Like, I don't understand how people completely miss this. The belief in God was the issue here in the first place. It's this reliance on something that's not there. There's nothing there for you. He probably wanted to see if God was going to lift him up, as the scripture says, that God is not going to let you, fall. I forget how it's worded. The scriptures does say that. Now, how many people have tested that theory, right? That the angels are going to lift you up if God should see that you fall or something like that. How many people are brave enough to test that theory to see if God is really going to help them? If you really believe. Let's see how strong your faith is. I'm just saying that because I don't really mean that, because look what happened to this guy. That's probably what he was testing. But this is why I say religious faith is harmful. Because you can't verify it. You can't prove it. Whether you want to be a Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventist, Black Hebrew Israelite, a Christian, a Muslim, any of these faiths. It's all dealing with, I got a word from God, and God has given me a secret, and this is the secret, and where is God? Where is he at? A God that's good and all-powerful, all good, and I look around, and I see nothing but misery, people being born, children being born with birth defects, for doing what? Children being born in poverty. There's people being born with all types of issues that they have to deal with the rest of their lives. This belief in God is we need to leave it back in the Bronze Age, I think, man. For you to believe that there's a God out here that wants nothing but good intention. He's all powerful and all good. If he was all powerful and all good, he wouldn't want these bad things. I mean, the destruction, volcanoes, hurricanes, famine, earthquakes. If he's an all-powerful, all-loving God, he can either use his power to change that, or his love would be so strong that he's going to say, I can't continue to allow this. Let me go down there and do something about it. So either that God is not all-loving, or he's not all-powerful, or both. You know, how do you know that the God that supposedly created all this, is everlasting? How do you know he's still alive? Could be dead somewhere. You don't know if he's everlasting. Because everybody always gets confused when they get up to the part, well, how did everything get here? Where did everything begin? I don't know. You're the one that believes in God, and you're the one that claims to know that God created it. You tell me how God got here. How about that? Because you're going to go into the Bible and say, well, this is how we got here. God said he did this. God said he did that? How did you determine that God said he did anything? How did you determine that God said anything? So the belief, this belief in the Bible, in religious faith, instead of looking within yourself, you're looking outside somewhere else for peace in your life. All you need is right here. You need this. You don't need anything without. But you want to look somewhere else because you don't have confidence in yourself. And life is scary and hard. This is what this man was probably going through. And the environment that he was raised in was no different from these Hebrew Israelite beliefs. It's not that much different. I mean, yeah, they're not out there as Seventh-day Adventists screaming on people on microphones. But you're still leading people to believe, giving people false hope, you know, that can maybe get them through a certain time in their life temporarily, but in the long run, what good is it going to do? You're just telling people just have hope and faith in God. Temporarily, he's going to help you. Help you do what, man? There's nothing you can't do here in this world if you don't do it for yourself. We need more independence in the Black and Hispanic community. We rely too much on faith and religions and a God. And look where Haiti is at this point. Haiti is one of the most religious, superstitious places on earth. And they're one of the most uneducated people on earth. Because miseducation or uneducation usually deals with these superstitious beliefs. And we don't need that at this point. It hasn't led us anywhere. I don't understand why we're still talking about this. When it comes to like a God, had never been proven that there is a God that gives a damn about anybody. Like, I'm an atheist. If y'all don't know. So, I'm reading this, and I know that this guy had, I understand what he went through here. This guy, Kim. And I know it's deeper than, I know it's something else, it's worse than just a religion. This was a cult. I get it. But a religion is a cult. What religions today do, especially these Christians, they like to hide from scriptures that are controversial, especially the Old Testament, because it's a contradiction, man. God wasn't for nations. God said he's going to kill all people. For people that want to, believe in a God that supposedly loves all people and all this. What did Jesus Christ? What did God say about the nations? Let's read it. Is it 46:10? Or 46:1, I believe. Well, let me type it up because I'm a little rusty. What was Jeremiah? 30:11. Okay. Oh, it's in 46:28. So yeah, it shows up twice in the Bible. 46:28 and Jeremiah 30:11. There's verses that just repeat themselves. This is what God said. For I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee. Though I make a full end of all nations, whither I have scattered thee, yet will I not make a full end of thee, but I will correct thee in measure, and will not leave thee altogether unpunished. So what's he talking? Who's he talking to? The Israelites. He's talking to the Israelites here, man. And how he's going to make a full end of all nations, but not the Israelites. This is the Bible right here. It's the Old Testament. Where does that match with Jesus Christ came to save the world, or for God so loved the world? You see the contradictions? This is like the characteristics of a schizophrenic person, that 1 second he's all loving, next minute he wants to kill. Like, where are we going at? You can tell that the big change that happened in the New Testament was all for propaganda. Just like the 12 tribes chart was propaganda to get more people in, to get the Hispanics in. That's what probably happened in the New Testament. The Israelites said, well, we don't even know who the hell are the Israelites anymore. We're all mixed up anyways. 10 tribes are all over the damn place. And we need more people anyways. And they opened it up to everybody. That's why they said that there is no difference between a Jew and a Gentile. You're going to tell me those Gentiles were some other people, right? That bullshit-ass damn doctrine. The Gentiles are the other nations. Yes, Israelites went to the other nations, and they were called Gentiles. They were not Israelites anymore. That's it. That's how it works. People don't know how genetics works. So another big issue with not only Hebrew Israelites, but people that want to be religious. They don't like following the science, because people that are religious have already come to many conclusions about life and according to the Bible. Already, prematurely come to conclusions that you don't know shit about the world. And then we're finding all types of things today, scientific truths, that date back hundreds of thousands of years. And there's no records of this in the scriptures. It's as if it never happened, because they didn't know anything. They don't know that real history. They don't know how to study archaeology, paleontology, the fossil records. They don't know about these things. These people that wrote these scriptures in the Bible, and Old Testament, New Testament, they had very limited knowledge, because even today we still have very limited knowledge. So imagine how limited it was back then. The faith is a problem. Faith is the problem. This guy was struggling in the faith, right? It says, I believe that because he was struggling in the faith, somebody indoctrinated this boy to do what he did. Why do they call him this boy? He's a man. Alright. Maybe the church told him he had to redeem himself after his struggle. The family said they knew something was wrong when Kim's mother tried to call her son to talk about what was bothering him. And an unknown woman answered the phone, saying she found the phone on the street. Wow. The woman said she would give the phone to Kim's dad, who was in the neighborhood. But before he arrived, one of Kim's friends came by to pick up the phone, promising he could give the phone to its owner faster. The man told Michael he left the phone inside Kim's apartment. So yeah, I think there's still a missing phone right now. I think the man's phone was grabbed by a ICGJC member or something like that. I'm not sure. Michael became suspicious after he couldn't find Kim's phone and filed a missing persons report. While trying to file the report, police informed him Kim died 3 days earlier. To retrieve To retrieve Kim's electronic devices, Michael has to go to surrogate court. He believes that those items will shed some light on the conversations Kim had with the church, if conversations aren't already deleted. Okay, so yeah, that's very odd there that somebody took the phone and said, and it just left with the phone because they promised they could give the phone to its owner faster. Huh. That's funny right there. But, if anything gets deleted from a phone, you can still retrieve it, I think, as old as like 15 years or something like that. From a computer, I think it's 15 years. But still, from a phone, too, I think you can go as far back as like a year or something like that. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of these interrogations and this psychological criminology interrogations and stuff to see how they work. It's very interesting. Also, I like to read body language. I want to learn how to read that body language, because it's part of psychology. Very interesting, subset of psychology, pretty much. But it says Michael stopped returning calls from Religion Unplugged after his son's funeral on November 15th, and hasn't confirmed if he has picked up the cell phone and laptop that belonged to his son. Police did not release a report on Kim's death and offered no comment on their investigation beyond noting the death was ruled a suicide. So, it was ruled a suicide. These are the family members. I don't believe there were any cult members at that funeral. So Kim's relatives say goodbye at his open casket in Cashapp Funeral Home in Brooklyn, November 15, 2020. So this is going to go into the actual death of Kim. In surveillance footage, right up here. In surveillance footage obtained by the police, Michael saw his son's last minutes leading up to his death. So there's footage of the whole thing, the death. Kim walked up to the roof alone, sat down on the railing, and then let himself drop to the ground below. When Michael watched his son plummet, the video stopped before the end because the cops didn't know if Michael could handle the graphic images. Yeah. But Michael insisted he watched his son plunge all the way to the ground, to his death. Damn, to see that, man, I can't imagine as a father. I said, Lord, look at what the boy did to himself. Man, I needed closure for me, Michael said. I saw it with my own eyes and I analyzed the situation. Michael said he wonders if someone, perhaps someone in the church, coerced his son to kill himself. I don't know. I mean, I thought about that. I don't know, because, like I said many times, the fear that the cult puts on you is enough for you to act on your own, and nobody has to tell you to do anything. The depression, the stress, constant stress, years of depression, man. What's years of depression going to do to a person? It's just crazy. But, let's see here. Kim's funeral, 15. Yeah, man. NYPD detectives did not comment on whether they believe Kim was coerced. Michael was informed of the detail of his son's death at NYPD's 32nd Precinct in Harlem. At Kim's funeral service November 15 at Cashapp Funeral Home in Brooklyn, his cousins and childhood friends described him as a prankster, always making people laugh. As a kid, he loved to play Pokemon. He used to film his own version of the MTV show Punk'd, hosted by Ashton Kutcher, around Manhattan with a friend. He would freeze to a still position in department stores to get people to react. One friend shared how Kim helped him become comfortable dancing in public and letting loose. Kim also became an advocate for healthy eating, trying to create awareness about what ingredients are found in fast food. For a time, he gave up eating meat. After the service, friends who knew Kim in high school said he changed when he joined the Black Hebrew Israelite Church. He was a fun guy, always making people laugh, and that all changed when he joined that church, said Dylan, a cousin of Kim's. Yeah, people's whole personalities change, man. You could have this comedic, personality trait. There's this fun personality, and then it could just completely change after years in there. I remember how it affected me was with my writing. I used to be a heavy writer, poetry, lyrics, just writing, whatever. And then when I was in the cult, after a few years of being in the cult, I had writer's block, and I never had writer's block, like at least not for years. Like I had writer's block for years, where I couldn't find that passion. I couldn't find that thing that I once had. I don't know if it had anything to do with the cult, but I definitely changed, and I know people that knew me told me the same thing that these people are saying about Kim. So Carlos, the person that passed, his first name is Kim. I forget the last name. You can read the article in the description, but I could read his name. His Hebrew name was Rabah Tazad. How do you read these names? Rabah Tazadad Yawath. Rabah Tazadad Yawath. There you go. Rabah Tazadad Yawath. Sad situation. So let's just finish this here. I mean, everybody's just giving their opinions of how he was. He was a fun, loving guy, and then he changed. Man. Yeah, so I'll just read it. It says, my recollection of Kim was a young man who was full of love, very quiet, unassuming but very friendly, he said. He reached out to everyone in a very unique way, not in a way of arresting your attention. You could sense that he was very unique. Brother Michael always asked me to pray for his son. I sensed the deep love he had for his son. Hence the reason why I indulge you to suspend our one-sided judgment and allow the Lord to be judge and jury. I mean, more religious mumbo-jumbo here from the pastor of the church of the father. And, I'm not, right. I mean, if you believe in the Lord's going to pass judgment, whatever, but I beg to differ there. I'm not going to judge the man. I know what he went through. I still think he's responsible for keeping it all together, like we all are. I'm not going to take that independence from that man. He made the decision that he made. I'm going to be straight up. Now, yeah, he's under mind control, but you're not a robot. You're still aware of what you're doing. You're very aware of what you're doing. That's why he had that, that shakiness in his faith. He was doubting. You have to keep it going. Keep finding things to reinforce what you know is true, because that doubt is there for a reason. Carlos says, wild. Regarding this whole thing, man, it is wild. Since I left in 2010, best thing I did. I got put out in 2010, at the end of 2010. But, I let myself get put out. I was not feeling what was going on. I was very detached from being happy and emotionally, ready to hand out flyers or teach. That was gone when I was put out. And I just still felt like I had to believe. But that quickly changed once I realized the amount of lies that circulate in the Black Hebrew Israelite community, man. But, the pastor here is saying, allow the Lord to be judge and jury. I mean, I believe, as far as we know, we have one life to live. This would be my best reason. But, I mean, other than, my children, the people I love around me, people that need me. Another great reason would be that you don't know if you have another life to live. or what happens after you die. You don't know that. So make the best of what you have. We're here now. We don't know if we're gonna get another chance. We don't know if there's a kingdom of afterlife. That's not known. Nobody's ever proven any of these things. So I mean, this is what it is. We have to be real. It's an ugly story, but this is reality. This is real life in the cult. So now, it's going to talk about this. I guess a sister, right? Kim's sister, Wendy James, read a Bible verse through tears from 2 Corinthians 4:17 to 18. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Nonsense. Straight nonsense. It's unseen. How did you verify that something is there that's unseen? I got into this little debate with somebody that was like, oh, well, you can't see the wind. How do you know it's there? Because we can measure the wind. We can measure the wind. You can't see bacteria, but it's there. If we get a strong enough microscope, we will see the bacteria. Is that what it's talking about? Because this is not talking about that. We know that. This is talking about what? Heaven, the spirit, and all this other stuff. Because what we are in the flesh now, this is all just temporary. This life is just temporary. This life is just a game. I don't see how telling people that this life is just temporary would help them not commit suicide. It would probably help them know it's just temporary. I can commit suicide anytime I want then. I mean, how is that going to help anybody, like, make a better life for them right now? This is temporary. What's unseen is eternal. All this does is put people at ease that's missing a loved one. That's all this does. This is like consoling. But why don't we speak real and say that you might never see your son ever again? That's the reality here. You want to hear the good story, right? You want to hear all fluffy things that, no, we're all going to get back together somewhere and, up in the sky, in heaven. And God is going to gather all your loved ones at the end, and you're going to see all the dead ancestors and people that you loved. Yeah, I've been hearing that since I was a kid, man. And there's no evidence of any of that, man. Why should we just believe things that are written in these old books? If you want to attribute, you think that they had some ancient wisdom. How do you know that this is not just them coming to conclusions for bad reasons? They didn't have a way of explaining the wind, so they had a god for the wind. They didn't have a way of explaining the sun, so they had a god for that. They didn't have a way of explaining none of this thing, so they made up something that can answer for it. Because people don't like saying that I don't know. People don't like not knowing. They want to be confident, right? I have no issue not knowing what happens after death. But I'd rather be honest and say I don't know than lie and say that there's an afterlife. When you know that you don't know that shit. Stop lying to people. Be real and say that you believe that there's an afterlife. But you don't know that. You want to believe that, and I don't care about what you believe. I care about what you know and what can be proven. If we're going to talk about, what's important, I mean, yeah, I'll entertain beliefs, and I'll even talk about speculations. That's fine. But if you're going to talk about something as if it's true, I want you to prove it and not tell me that this is what you believe. That doesn't make any sense. You believe it to be true, but you don't have the evidence to back it up. There's always a reason for why you believe. Faith is not a reason, and we went over that already. But yeah, there's so many issues with these. I mean, this is the problem here, man. It's the fact that these people don't know how to come to a valid conclusion, to verify their beliefs. They go by, if it sounds good, I'm going to go with that. That's what they literally do. It sounds like it goes with this. Okay, we can take that. Sometimes you can even find some scientific truths that Israelites will take, right? But there might be something within that, like a time frame, that fucks up their whole damn, what do they call it? 6-day creationist belief, right? A young Earth creationist, which they believe the Earth was like 10,000 years old. But then there's scientific things that'll prove the Earth is Earth is way older than that. And they'll skip that and take something else, but no, don't follow this where it says the time frame is off, but this is true. They'll do things like that sometimes. And it's like, yo, you realize that science is actually important. That's why you try to always go there to prove it and corroborate and back up your scriptures. It is important. It's not an opinion. Do you think the people that made a phone like this and computer like this just had an opinion? This took time and testing, trials and error. You can't do no trial and error with scriptures, with your faith. You can't do that. You just have to assume that God heard you, or just God didn't hear you, or God did hear you, but he's not going to fulfill your wish yet, or maybe never going to fulfill your wish. And you're just sitting there, oh, well, I don't know if he heard me. I don't know if God heard me, but I'm going to just sit here and wait until it happens. And of course, you might be praying for some money to come. Eventually, if you wait long enough, you're going to get money. Somehow, you're going to attribute that to a God. It's like people just wait for a sign, and they'll say, well, I'm going to wait for this to happen. If this happens, that's God. So you now define God as something else. You have no definition for God. Your definition for God are things that he does for you, or this, or some mystical belief of a spirit and an energy. People love talking about energy too. Melanin and pineal gland and the energy and all this crap, man, that they try to damn woo you with and try to make you think that they know something special and there's some secret information. That's a damn cult. That's a cult. That's some brainwashing going on if they're coming at you like that. And I know from experience, man. I mean, this is pretty much just going into the end of, just how the family feels. I really don't think we need to read anything else there. It's just the last one, right? Today is one of the saddest days of my life. I am hurt and even angry, understanding that there are no simple answers, she said. As painful as it is, we can only turn to God for strength and comfort. Now, I'm wondering how you turn to God. In what way do you turn to God? Because Kim thought he was turning to God. So make the distinction. What did Kim go wrong? Obviously, the Tazdakia is definitely wrong. We can see that. But other than that, inside the Bible, there's things that are horrible in the Bible that it could still and you can still use it even if you don't teach people these things that the Hebrew Israelites teach, which could be potentially harmful. Violence, hatred, all of that, racism. Even if that's not being taught, there's still other things in the scriptures that it's just bad advice. Take no thought for the morrow. That's horrible advice. Why would Jesus say that? Take no thought for the morrow. Just don't even think about tomorrow. And that's somebody that thinks that they're living in the last days. That's what Jesus Christ was talking like that, because he thought they was living in the last days. Who else in their right mind would say something like that to one of their followers? Don't think about tomorrow. Just follow me, because the end of the world is coming. That's why. That's the only logical conclusion you can come to. I want to read some of these comments, though, just to see if I catch any ICGJC members here. So, Freedom says, a week ago, she says, or he or she says, my prayers are with the family. That place is a cult. Yeah, man. Definitely. Then Nicole Campfield, this is sad, and everything that's being described here is what I'm currently experiencing with my son because of this organization of falsehood. You see all the damn harm this place is causing? They prey on the weak, just like with other cultish organizations. There needs to be a way to silence them, just like with this QAnon, same difference. Yeah, QAnon was spreading a lot of unverified shit. This is what Hebrew Israelites fall for, right? The QAnon would be those are the conservatives, right? Conservative Republicans were falling for that stuff. Most of them, you know. I was following that just to see what the hell they're talking about. It was really interesting stuff. And there might have been some truth to some of the things that were being put out. Just like there might be some truth with the Hebrew Israelite stuff. But then it gets twisted with this whole other, you know, scheme and a conspiracy. There's always a conspiracy to control people, right? And to depopulate. That's another conspiracy. Depopulate. It's so many, like, unverified things that, you know, these people that QAnon believe, because it kind of just falls in line with their worldview. It's just like the Hebrew Israelite. There was something that happened the other day with like a very popular Hebrew Israelite that posted something that was false on YouTube, and it was a clear false article. There were so many mispronunciations, and I think Abu put it on his page. That's where I found it. Abu's on point. If you're watching this, Abu, I appreciate all the work you do, man. But yeah, man, what Abu put this cat out there was like, this is a false article. And it was an article supposedly saying that the real Jews are black and all of that, and that DNA evidence proves that. And it was a doctored article. And Abu literally went to the page, the actual website where you could do that, and he remade almost the same exact image of a so-called newspaper. And this is why they believe this, is because they don't know how to verify what's true, and they have a bias. There's a very strong bias against one group and for another group. This is what cults do. They separate you from the world. They make you think the world is evil, and you got to be careful. The world is dangerous, and be with us. And this is what Trump did that too. Trump was very smart with. He used these conservatives very intelligently, but he radicalized some of them too. But he did you know, he played that crowd, just like the Democrats play the blacks and Hispanics. Trump was playing that conservative crowd. He knows what they're afraid of, and that's what you find. If you know what people are afraid of, you know how to control them. And Democrats know what black people are afraid of: slavery coming back. That's why they constantly. Oh, white people. You know, it's like that. Like some of these woke people are almost paranoid of white people. What white people are plotting. It's almost a paranoia, man. Same thing with QAnon, conservative Republican. Fear that they're going to take our country away. They're going to take our guns away. You know, that's the fear. But, you know, they always put this fear, like I said, with the slavery in the black community, with racism. That's the thing that's being pushed right now, racism. Racism is everywhere, and it's nowhere when it comes to the other side. And racism only goes one way. It's one-sided right now in this community. It's like, you black, oh, you got the complexion for the protection. You can't be racist. It used to be the other way around. The complexion for the protection was the other way around. Things have changed, man. We're living in a different time where a vice president like Kamala Harris and a president like Barack Obama was simply elected because of their race. That's what they're championing. They're not talking about their track records and how they're going to help the community. They're telling you, oh, we're going to get a black woman up there. And that's how they play people. Yeah, we're going to get people that look like you. Black people, they're for you. That's the oldest trick in the book. That's what Tazadakia did. You hide in yourself as an ally. You camouflage yourself as an ally and somebody that's going to help, somebody that's on the side, and that's how you get in. That's why they say keep your enemies close, or keep your friends close and enemies closer. This is their mentality. They try to keep the enemies closer by doing this. This is the Democratic. This is the politicians, man. They have their own tricks, and they need to get the people behind them so they can have the power. They need that power, so they need the people to vote. How are they going to get the people to vote? Manipulation, fear tactics. It's practice in politics. It's practice in religion. Because a cult can be a religious cult. You can have a political cult. You can have a cult based on anything. It's extremism. That's what it is. So, excellent comment, Nicole Campfield. Now, Rakah, that shooting in Jersey, that brother and sister didn't belong to any Israelite church because they don't believe in violence. They will protect themselves just like anybody else would. Would you protect your family? So this sounds like a person in the church. It seems like you could tell how they're defending the shooter. They will protect themselves just like anybody else would. Would you protect your family? Is this person trying to say that the shooter in Jersey was protecting themselves? I hope not. That church had nothing to do with the shooting in Jersey or the preaching in Washington, D.C. Yeah, but y'all all still tied together anyways, because all these groups came out of the ICGJC, which was formerly known as the ISUPK anyways. So, George Ramos, I'm just going to read your comment. George Ramos says, I am not a racist. Oh, I'm sorry. I am a non-racist, Messianic Hebrew Israelite who has to constantly deal with the negative stigma of being a racist and being forced to defend myself. Not all Messianic Hebrew Israelites are racist, such as yours truly. Shalom alaikum. Shalom alaikum. I'm sorry. Misread that. Shalom alaikum. Yeah, I mean, anybody can come on my channel, right? I'm an atheist, man, but I like hearing from everybody, man. But I'm gonna tell you straight up, I don't follow these, these scriptures. I read them, but I don't practice them. I don't follow them. I don't think they're divinely inspired. There could be some good things in them, but there's a lot of issues with them. You know, just the fact, George Ramos, just the fact that a God has a chosen people, isn't that racist in a way? Don't you think that is racist in a way? Having a chosen people, you're choosing one people over everybody else. That seems like racism to me. But I know what you're saying when you're saying you're not racist. You know, you're not discriminating. That's good. I like religions like that better than racist, ones. But I still think that they're all wrong, man. Or at least they've all come to premature conclusions. Let's say they did come to a premature conclusion and there just so happens to be a God. They didn't have good reason to say that anyways. There was no proof to say that. It was just it was just their assumption based off of bad evidence. Because a book with claims of a God, I guess you can call that evidence. I would call that bad evidence because it's just a book with claims. You have to corroborate that with something else. Now, so yeah, back to this Rakah with capital letters. This person is definitely an Israelite. They love doing all caps, multiple exclamation marks. Well, I don't see that. I'm surprised. I am not part of that church, but your information is not true. I have not read everything you have wrote, but that is false. Sorry for the loss of that brother's life. May he sleep in peace. He should have just left that church, plain and simple. Respect to the family. They would not have done anything to him if he would have just left the church. Shalom. Peace be unto you. This is definitely a Hebrew Israelite. That church had nothing to do with the shooting in Jersey. Well, we don't really know that because there was an article that somebody said that they recognized David Anderson. So I don't know if this comment, it's just a comment, whatever. Megan is full of it. An Asian. I would not listen to another word this person has to say about anything. She just exposed herself for what she is. Nation, you see it, right? What the hell is this cat talking about? This has got to be somebody from the ICGJC. I mean, everything they said was pretty much on point. Except when they tried to tie in that Covington incident. Yeah, let me just read that again. Black Hebrew Israelites. See, it's talking about Black Hebrew Israelites as a whole. Most Hebrew Israelites, including ICGJC, Yeah, that's all true. But last year, the fringe group. See, when they say the fringe group, it makes it seem as this group. But I think that the fringe group is talking about all black Hebrew Israelites. Some people are confused about what the hell black Hebrew Israelites are. You know, the different denominations, the different groups. You know, you got to know the history of One West, and it's just not that well known. All right, Ron, I am Israel, burn it. It's tragic what happened to this young man. However, to paint Hebrew Israelite, they always want to defend themselves when there's so many different situations of Hebrew Israelites in different organizations that have committed horrible crimes. Under the, recently I'm talking about within the last 10 years. I mean, you could go back 20, 30 years and it's even worse. Now it says, we are not a monolith. Well, I'm sorry. It's tragic what happened to the young man. However, to paint Hebrew Israelites with such a broad brush is short-sighted and irresponsible. We are not a monolith. Just as all Sunday Christians, Muslims, so-called Jews are not the same. Neither are we. I've never stood on a street corner or anywhere else and told my white brothers and sisters they were devils going to hell. I and those in my church will never say or even think such things. The fact is, anyone who repents, accepts, and lives by the laws and commandments of the Most High, God of Israel, shall receive his mercy, per Exodus 20:6, and again in Deuteronomy 5:10. That is the love of God. Really, because in Deuteronomy 7:6, the love of God. Let's see what the love of God says. Let's read Deuteronomy 7:1. Now, this person is reading Deuteronomy chapter 5. Oh, damn, did I just get off of it? Oh, no, okay. Here we go. So, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. KJV. Let's see if this is a God that accepts all people equally. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and has cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them, and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou give unto thy son. I mean, there's so many things in these, especially in these books. What's the other one here? Deuteronomy 23. I mean, the owning of slaves. Is that 22? I mean, and even the treatment of women, like the women had to get the father's permission before they married. Why did these women? They weren't women. That's why. I need to stop calling them women too, because sometimes, I don't even realize that. Because these guys are so used to calling just every girl women, but these are girls in the scriptures. They make it seem like no, these are women. They were old enough, but why did they have to get permission from their father? That's because they weren't old enough. They were taking these women young back then, and they were. I mean, you can go into the history in the Middle East. Muslims, look at Muhammad, the prophet of so-called prophet of Allah. This dude married a 9-year-old, man. Aisha was his wife. He married a 9-year-old, and then consented to marriage, or whatever you want to call it, at when she was 11. Nasty shit, and this shit was just allowed, and men of high rank can get away with this, like Tazadaki, because they have so many people in his hands. But these scriptures, I mean, there's so many things, man. I mean, And then here with the giving away or owning other people as property, and then your slave that you own as a property, if you give them a wife, now that man can't leave with the wife because that's your property. The wife is your property. It's not his property. You just gave him that wife temporarily. So if that person wants to leave, they pay off their 7-year debt or whatever. They can't take the wife with them. If they want to stay with the wife, they have to remain a damn slave. And what did the master do? He'll pierce the ear of that person, I believe. I mean, just tokens of virginity. We paying for the virginity? If a man be found lying with a woman married to an husband, then shall both of them die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shalt thou put away evil from Israel. So this is just, this is laws made by men for men, because the woman doesn't have that privilege. It's only talking about if a man found lying with a married woman. It doesn't say if a woman is found lying with a married man. So obviously, polygamy was promoted, encouraged. If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto an husband, and a man find her in the city and lie with her, then ye shall bring them both out to the gate of the city, and ye shall stone them with stones, that they die. So, if a woman is married, and she's a virgin, but she's betrothed to a husband, right? She's engaged. And a man find her in the city. She's in the city. And lie with her. This doesn't seem like it's consensual, right? Oh, what did I just do? And lie with her. All right? That's who you were? Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, this is craziness here. Because this is talking about a rape, man. Then ye shall bring them both unto the gate, out unto the gate of the city, of that city, and ye shall stone them with stones that they die. The damsel, because she cried not, being in the city, and the man, because he had humbled his neighbor's wife. But what if he covered her mouth and she couldn't cry? I always used to think about that. Being in the city? What does that mean? Because there's more people there that they're going to be able to hear you? What if he has a damn rag in her mouth, has her mouth covered? How are they going to hear her? How is she the victim? How is she to blame when she's the victim? This is what the Bible does. And yet these people out here talking about Deuteronomy and man, so many issues, man. There have been several suicides recently, Pastor Darren Patrick. His name and I guess different pastors. Reverend Brian, several other members of various unknown congregations. This article is yellow journalism at its best. What? This cat's crazy. There have been several suicides recently. Pastor Darren Patrick, Pastor Jay Wilson, Reverend Brian, several other members of various unknown congregations. So this person's looking at different congregations where people have committed suicide instead of looking at one where multiple people have committed suicide. So, dude, this is not logical, man. Hebrew Israelites, I think they do this on purpose. This guy has to know he's not making any sense here. You're picking people from multiple churches. We're here talking about a bunch of people from one church, man. So your church is like the Christian church then? The point is no writer, let's see what this says. The point is no writer ever vilified the attended church and never accused the church of indoctrination. Even the churches of several Christians that stormed the state capitol were never accused of some ominous indoctrination. This got to be a black Hebrew Israelite, because to bring up the state capital thing is like they love to show that, because those are white people. But let some black people go riot and damn burn some shit down. They're not going to talk about that. They're actually going to, applaud that and say, yeah, man, that's good. Or say that, oh, I wouldn't do that, but I understand. Say that type of shit instead of condemning it. But they'll condemn the Capitol riots, which I'll condemn all of it. They're all wrong. Talk about everything honestly. But a person like this, which is like a black nationalist, and I've seen this with members that have just recently left the ICGJC, they were getting caught up in this goddamn black versus white shit that's being pushed with the politics, man. They're pushing that shit with religion. You fell for it in religion. You left the cult, and now you're falling for it with politics. I mean, it's a bunch of people like this. These are former ICGJC members that are falling for the same bullshit. But this person he's a black nationalist too, but he sounds like he belongs in the cult though. Even the blah blah blah. The writer Princess Jones should be terminated and sued. This article is yellow journalism. Nah, man, this is crazy. Trash reporting, extreme bias and prejudice view of an organization that the author is clearly against. A lot of false information contained in this racist rant called news reporting. White supremacy, which is spelled incorrectly, meets journalism is all this article contains. White supremacy. Like, the person that wrote the article is white? I didn't even know that. Like, what you talking about, man? Here's a man that died up in the cult. And we trying to get a good understanding of what's going on. This person got information from the family, former ICGJC members, looked up information on other cults. I didn't really see that many mistakes. I didn't see it. I mean, this wasn't bad. I mean, there's people saying, that this is good journalism, that this was a good article. And then you got these obvious, they're talking about bias. There's nobody more biased than the Hebrew Israelite. And then now, more specifically, there's nobody more biased than a Hebrew Israelite that's in a particular ABC or alphabet group. Like, if you're in the ICGJC, of course this is going to be a biased opinion. You're going to say that this is a biased opinion. But you're the one that's actually has a complete, confirmation bias. No matter what happens, your own leader died, and you still have the confirmation bias to go along with the damn lies of the cult, and not realize that you're not consistent with your beliefs here. You're not being consistent with the shit that Tazadaki was saying that he was gonna do and guide y'all out of Israel. Now he's dead, man. You talk about bias. These people don't know anything about bias. All they think about is white and black. Everything is color coded. Because that's how they think. They're racist as hell, so they think everybody else is white supremacy, man. Like, white supremacy is an issue right now, man? You think that's an issue? That's holding you back? That's not holding me back. I could do whatever the fuck I want. White supremacy, man. You're living like you're still a slave. These people, like, they feel like they're like living in the 1600s. It's like they're living in slave times. And they have this paranoia, like, is that master? Like, yo, snap out of this shit. Like, you are free, man. Leave the country if you hate white supremacy. Go to Africa. See how much you like living out there. In some of these countries out there. Because you'd be surrounded by nothing but black people. What are you going to complain about then? Well, white people still did something wrong. No matter what black people do, they always find a way to blame it on white people. And this is very similar to this, what's this shit that they're saying now with BLM? This is exactly how BLM talks. They constantly talk about white supremacy. They only look at victims that get shot that are black, when some of them deserved it and had it coming, like Mike Brown, it already came out that the hands up don't shoot was a lie. BLM was all started from a lie. Like these people that are in the Hebrew Israelite organization, these different ones, the majority of them, they right in line with this BLM shit. That's why some of these cats that left the cult, when they heard all this BLM stuff in the news, reporting all these false stories of Breonna Taylor being shot on the bed, which she was not shot on the bed. Her man shot a cop, and she was standing right next to her man. So when the cops shot back, they shot him. If they really wanted to kill everybody, the man would be dead too. Breonna Taylor, she involved herself in a criminal. She had she had a criminal for a boyfriend. There was a dead body found in a car that was rented under her name. And everybody's crying, victim, 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 no justice, no peace. Like, what? Well, her man was the one that shot. Why didn't he protect her? How did she die? And the man didn't get one bullet in him. What bias, man? Who's out here trying to what white supremacy, man? Get your mind out of the gutter. Stop saying that the only choices I have is either I could be a basketball star, I could be a rapper, or a drug dealer. Those are not your choices, man. You got more choices out here. You limiting yourself. I'm telling you, man, these Hebrew Israelites, this was like some damn social experiment prior to BLM or some shit. Because it's like all this stuff was tested on us and then practiced on us and then finally put out the final edition, this whole BLM shit that involves everybody. Not only blacks and Hispanics, now you got white people, the majority of the ones supporting BLM. And they pushing lies, man. Jacob Blake was a damn... First of all, he wasn't even supposed to be where he was at. And he's running away from a cop who he had just fought. He just fought cops. He's going to his car, reaching for shit. You're gonna get shot, dude. And people out here crying. I saw St. Basil make a video. Jacob Blake, blah, blah. Bro, stop crying. You a bitch ass nigga, Basil.
Getting on niggas that wake up late. Shout to my niggas, they take up state. Wait, another one? Jacob Blake. So here, take this black fist for another brother in the struggle. Black. But my eye on Brown with the 16 dimes, had a triple double in the bubble.
Over here, every song you make, you crying, man. I'm crying about my conditions and my people, blah, blah. Yo, tell your people to be independent and stop relying on the government or on the damn God to come and save them. How about that? Become independent, man. All y'all are fucking group thinking. Everything y'all do, y'all move in a group. It's called a herd mentality. Y'all are sheep. Because y'all can be pushed in any direction easily. All you got to do is hear the white man. What? Did you say something about the white man? Oh, I'm with it, man. Just because it falls in line with your racist ideology. And you want to blame everything that the black man goes through on white people. But you could go through the history of Haiti, and some of the shit that happened in Haiti was their own fault. They put in a damn maniac, Papa Doc, as the damn president. They voted for him, and he rigged the election the second time. He rigged the election. And he was a damn maniac. The Haitian people put him in power. And even before that, the guy that liberated, I forget his name. I think he was the son. They damn chopped his body up to pieces in the streets. White people didn't do that. That happened in Haiti. Their own people did that to revolutionary that were trying to, progress the country. So you want to put blame on the white man constantly. Why don't you man up and put blame on your own people? Maybe that way you'll learn from your mistakes and push harder. Instead of being a victim, a person that's constantly a victim doesn't get anything done. You don't get shit done because you constantly blaming everything on everything else. And all your issues, it's not your fault. None of your issues are your fault. What are you going to work on if you don't admit that you are the ones with the fault? That you're the ones that should fix yourself, that you got issues. You're not well educated. You should learn more about logic and the Bible and how these things came about. Educate yourself. Become independent. You're relying on people to teach you. And you're impressed by how much they know. And then you become a parrot to everything that they say. You parrot everything that they say. and you don't even really understand it. And now these people are like hostages now. It's like they don't even know where to go because they don't understand how to, break down these scriptures differently. To them, it just makes sense. The color scriptures, all that garbage, man. This is a sad story, with this one brother that just he didn't know what to do. I could imagine what's going through his head too after the death of Tazadaki. But this was the article that was put together just to shed some light. There's people mad in the comment section that probably they don't want these stories to come out because it doesn't put Black Hebrew Israelites in a good light. It actually exposes some of the issues in the community, and people are trying to downplay it by saying that, oh well, and this is called a red herring. What this person did. There have been several suicides recently with the pastor, blah, blah, blah. That's a distraction. That's a red herring. Yeah, but those are not hate groups. They don't put a bunch of demand on, as far as I know, I don't know what these groups do. They probably are, just like your group. It doesn't make it any better. You're comparing them, you're comparing these other cults or these other churches to your church, because y'all the same. He's saying the same thing happened there that happened there. Okay, so then how are y'all so different? What's so special about you and your damn cult? The indoctrination that he put in parentheses is definitely there. Because if you could convince somebody that white like wool is not talking about color, that's how you know that you're being fucking... There's some mind control going on. If you think somebody says, this is white like wool, it's not talking about color, it's talking about texture. If I say white like clouds, it's talking about the texture of the clouds. Because clouds can be gray. Clouds are not just white. So clouds is not a color. Wool is not a color. That's what they say. This is their logic. I'm trying to get some Hebrew Israelites on my live, preferably Guerrilla Hebrew, Deacon Hakah, GMS. There's been some GMS members. I just noticed there was GMS members that made videos responding to me. I want to go live and talk to y'all so we could settle this, and whatever y'all topic y'all want to go over, we can stick to that, and we'll go over it. ISUPK, any of these Lone Stars, Israelites, whatever. I want to actually talk to a Hebrew Israelite live and ask questions live, and so y'all can see some of the crazy responses. So you can see it live, how they lie, and how they like to get away with shit. And there's so many examples of this. You could go through my videos, and been doing this for a while, man. It's been almost 3 years since I've been doing this. As of March 1st, which is actually 4 years now. Since March 1st, 2017 was when I made my first video going up against the ICGJC. So this is the 4th year anniversary. I didn't even really notice it until just now. And it is after midnight, so it's technically March 1st. Man, it's been a very interesting journey, man, and to see this point where we at right now, where the dude that I wanted to expose is now dead, and people are still in the cult, and some are committing suicide. There's some issues in there, and I hope that people that are in the ICGJC you're probably not going to leave the Israelite belief as easily, but you need to realize when somebody is playing you, trying to use the Israelite belief, and don't just accept anything, as a confirmation just because, you have a bias. There's many families being hurt out here, and they're just everybody's looking for God and for faith. They need something out here because life is hard. But there's obviously there's no telling. There's no distinction that a person that's a religious has a better life, a person that's not religious, or a person that believes in God. Actually, it seems to be the other way around. But this is where we are right now with the ICGJC. And this is where we at in the Black Hebrew Israelite community as a whole. Because, the ICGJC was once the main group, or the main group out of this big ideology that pretty much deals with a lot of different beliefs. I mean, it spans from so many different doctrines of people that believe they're Hebrew Israelites. Some people believe they're Hebrew Israelites and they're African. I don't know how you can do that. Some people believe that they're Hebrew Israelites and they're not African. It's weird out here, man. What people the conclusion that people like to come to without real evidence, just because you read a scripture and you like some of these prophets, you like their style, you like how God dealt with them, you want God to deal with you the same way. I mean, at this point, I think I said all that I could say about this story. Just wanted to read it, focus in, and shed the light on this, because this needed its own video and its own attention. So thank you for joining. This has been another program, San Miguel TV.